Hey folks, good morning to you, and of course, welcome to another money space with me, Kalu Aja. Of course, in this space, we're talking money, the economy, and finance. We want to talk about the economy, the Nigerian economy, and specifically, we want to focus this week or this Sunday on the Nigerian budget process. Not just this budget, we're going to try to go back, say, 5 years or 4 years, then we're going to bring it home to today. The basis of the space is pretty simple, right? We want to understand where the money in Nigeria is going to, right? We want to see if we can find out what's going on with our budgets. And this is an exercise that I've been, no, I make this comment all the time that I do not, or I stopped looking at Nigerian budget in terms of when they release the budget estimates because I found that it was really a waste of time. When Nigerian budgets are released, it's basically the PR, and I'm saying that with all sense of responsibility, and I'm going to back it up with facts, right? It's essentially a PR game, right? Where folks are trying to make it look like as if there is something better that they are doing that we're not really seeing, right? So that's what we want to do this week. I want to just do a deep dive into that budget, right? And share the what's it called the slides with you on Twitter, so that way you guys try to follow and see the point I am making. It's a very very simple presentation, but because it has numbers, right? That's why I want you guys to sort of follow, and I have them all set up on Twitter, and I'm also on Facebook. So if you're also on Facebook, you can actually see what I'm also going to share. So that way, it's sort of like you can follow because it's numbers, and I want you guys to get that sense of what I'm sharing as well. Yeah. So let's start off with my main point. Of course, my name is Kalu Aja, and of course, this week we always talk money, economy, and finance on our budget spaces. We heard this week that the president or the budget ministry was just essentially telling the MDAs, the ministries, departments, and agencies to move the 2025 budget, the capital portion of that budget, till the next year, till 2026. That's what we heard this year. That's what was happening. They wanted to move the budget, the 2026 portion of that budget, till next year. And that was interesting because in 2024, the same thing happened. As a matter of fact, if you go back to 2023 or 2024, Nigeria ran three budgets in 2024, three budgets. So if you're on YouTube, I've put the graphic up there on YouTube, you can see it, right? In 2023, Nigeria ran a 2023 budget. We ran a 2023 supplementary budget. We also ran a 2024 budget. That's in 2024, three budgets. In 2025, the year we're in, Nigeria is running again three budgets. We're running the 2025 budget itself. We're also running the 2024 supplementary budget, and we're also running the 2024 budget itself. So 2025 that we're in, three budgets. 2024, three budgets. So that, of course, just rings a red flag in your head if you're a finance person. Why are you carrying over budgets from the previous year to the current year? That's not done anywhere. If you have a project, the way it's done usually is if you have a project, of course, it's not going to be financed on one budget. So you have the total budget cost, but every year you appropriate funds to go from the income that you make or even the borrowings that you make towards that project. So the project is going to be 1 billion. You basically appropriate be 100 million every year. You take it from your income, it goes to the budget every year to finance that project. We don't carry over the entire budget into each year going forward. And even if we do, you have, say, in 2025, you are running the 2024 appropriation, 2024 supplementary, the 2025 appropriation. We're not even sure if you have run down the 2023 supplementary, but we're not sure. So this year we have three budgets. And on top of this year, the three budgets, we also have borrowings. And on top of the borrowings, we've also removed fuel subsidy. So when we've taken away fuel subsidy, we've created new revenues for the federal government of Nigeria. But those new revenues that we've created, where really are they? That's the question. Where are those revenues that we have created? Because if we say, for instance, that we have created revenues because we've removed the subsidy, then where are they? That's the question. So I'm just going to share on Twitter, the same you two guys have seen it, the budget we've run in Nigeria since 2023. And it just doesn't make sense if you look at it. It doesn't pass the smell test. And that's the first thing that pricked my interest. So let's do a deeper dive into what's actually going on with Nigerian budget. So we now in 2025, 70% of the 2025 capital allocation has been told to be moved over into 2026. Okay, that's fine. Let's now go deeper, and that's the report there. The federal government has asked the states, the MDAs, so it's the MDAs, federal MDAs, to move 70% of their budget to 2026. Why? Well, obviously because there's no money to complete the budgets. There's no money. There's no revenues to complete the 2025 budget, which is now the question, where is the money? If we've removed fuel subsidy, if we've got record tax revenues that we've been boasting about, we saw the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service say that they have met their target, about 21 trillion, right? Mr. President also came out and said he has met his target on non-oil. So if we've met our target on non-oil, we are borrowing record amounts of naira and dollars from the capital market, the euro bonds, and the Nigerian domestic bond market. If we're so much borrowing, removal of fuel subsidy, we've met our targets. Why can the federal government not execute capital projects? Why is this still running 3 budgets in a year? Why are we running 3 budgets in a year? So I've done this exercise, guys, and I'm going to share it on Twitter, and you would see what I've done here. I've taken from 2020 all the way to 2024 because we don't have any budget number for 2025. So again, let me just repeat to you, we're stopping at 2024 because the federal government of Nigeria has not released any budget implementation report for 2025 from January 2025 till date. There has not been one released record, not one for 2025, which means that we cannot do an analysis of 2025. We can't. So I've shared the 2020 to 2025 budget with you guys. What I've done is this. I've taken income, expenditure, then the deficit, then the borrowing, which is the debt, just to lay out a picture for us. Because when we look at this picture from 2020, we then see the trend. When we look at from 2020, we then see the trend, and you see where I'm going to with this. So the summary of this, because lots of numbers, it's on Twitter, it's on YouTube. If you're following, you can see it. The summary is this. Every single year, Nigeria from 2020 till 2024, because we don't have any figures for 2025, Nigeria's income has gone up from 2020 to 21 to 22 to 23 to 24. The revenue figures that Nigeria has earned, the federal government of Nigeria and the states, has gone up. There's no flex there. The revenues have gone up from 3 trillion in 2020. In 2024, Nigeria is now doing 20 trillion. We've gone from 3 to 4 to 7. Then with this new administration, went from 7 to 12 trillion. And now we're at 20 trillion as at 2024. We don't have 2025. So revenues have gone up from 2020 to 2024. The problem, guys, like I always say on Twitter, is not the revenues, it's the expenditure. Look at the expenditure numbers again. Expenditure has gone up also. So whilst we have increased revenues, we have also massively increased expenditures. So from 10 trillion, the federal government used to spend 10 trillion in 2020. In 2024, the federal government is spending 34 trillion. We've gone from 10 to 34 in 4 years. 10 trillion to 34 trillion in 4 years. Let me make it makes a bit more sense to you, right? The total income, if we simply kept our spending at current levels, right, at the say 2021 level, if we kept our spending at 2021 levels, Nigeria would have no deficit, which means the income that Nigeria earned in 2023, if we did not increase spending, we would have no deficit. The total income we have will pay for all the expenditure of the federal government, because in 2023 we have 12 trillion. In 2022, we have 6 trillion. So if we didn't increase spending, if we didn't want to do projects all across the place, if we didn't want to pay more salaries, if we didn't want to buy a new private jet, we would not have increased our spending, or we would not have borrowed. But look at where it gets interesting. Deficit is just going to be the difference between the income and the expenditure. But look at the debt. Guys. In 2020, Nigeria was borrowing about 2 trillion. As at 2024, Nigeria is now borrowing 12 trillion. 12 trillion. So the income has gone up. Income is going to be the revenues that Nigeria is collecting, the oil revenues, the VAT, the customs duties. It has gone up to 20 trillion. But upon that, Nigeria is now going to the market to borrow 12 trillion. I think this year we're borrowing 1 trillion a month. So the problem clearly, guys, it has nothing to do with revenues. Nigeria is making revenues. Look at the numbers. If you look at 2024, we borrowed, Nigeria earned, this is without borrowing, 20 trillion, 980 naira. That's what we borrowed. But if you look at the spending, it's gone up to 34. Listen, if we simply spent at the same level of 2023, Nigeria would have a deficit of just 1 trillion, just 1 or 2. But we went from 23 trillion to 34. And this is with the income that we've gotten from fuel subsidy removal, from Dangote refinery, all the revenues from the new custom duties, from VAT, all those revenues that we're boasting about has still not stopped Nigeria borrowing 1 trillion a month. And that's why we're having this space today, because the numbers then don't make sense to us. If Nigeria is earning 20 trillion as at 2024, why can't they do capital projects? That's the question. Why can they not do capital projects? If they're earning, their income has gone from 12 to 20, and they boast about it on Twitter, and they say, listen, we've made so much revenues, then why can't they do capital projects? That's the problem. So let's look at the next slide again and just see where this is going to, right? Because we need to understand what the government is doing, right? What are they doing with the funds? Now, the next slide I've shared here on YouTube, I'm going to share again for the guys on Twitter. We've now tried to compare where these record revenues are going to. Where's the revenue going to? We know they've earned 20 trillion, but where is it going to? Is it going to CapEx, which is capital expenditures? Is it going to recurrent, which is basically they're using the money to pay salaries? And the numbers basically show us that the bulk of the income Nigeria is making is going to pay salaries and service the debt. That's the problem, guys. That is the problem. That we are making record revenues, but we are using those record revenues to pay salaries and to pay debt servicing, not to pay down the debt, to pay debt servicing. Again, I'm sharing on Twitter so you guys can follow the visuals of what I'm talking about. And the numbers here, guys, someone say, where these numbers are coming from the federal government of Nigeria's own debt numbers, federal government of Nigeria's own budget figure. So this is the federal government's own budget we're reviewing this. If you look at the numbers, might not make sense to you, but I'm picking them from the federal government of Nigeria. So it's not my numbers. Look at 2023, guys. Nigeria earned 12 trillion in 2023. Where did that money go to? The money went to debt servicing, 8 trillion, 8.5 when it serviced the debt. Where did the other money go to? It went to recurrent, 7 trillion. CapEx, capital expenditure, only got 6.3. We're going to come back to that. This 6.3 is the cash backing. CapEx was 13 trillion. This is just the cash backing. So you can see, if you look at where the money is going to from 2023 2024, the money is simply going to pay debt and to pay salaries. That's why they have to carry over the capital expenditure side to 2026. That's what's going on. And this has been occurring since 2024. They brought over 2023 budget. In 2024, they now carried it over 2025. So 2025, we now had the 2024 budget and 2025 budget. Why? Because not that they are not making money. They are making record revenues. They are making 12 trillion. They are making 2 trillion. Record revenues, but the spending has gone up as well. That's the problem. They've not curtailed their spending. So instead of them to hold down the spending and then to then say, okay, we're going to stop new projects, we're going to stop buying new private jets, we're going to stop creating new ministry department agencies, we're going to take the revenues you have made to simply pay down our debt. No, they've gone up. So you see, from 12 trillion revenues, we made 20 trillion revenues in 2024. But the expenditure in 2023 was 23 trillion. Last year, we were making 20 trillion. So the deficit is just 3 trillion. But no, they went gangbusters and they spent 34 trillion. This is 2024. We don't have any numbers for 2025. Who knows what numbers are going to be? That's the problem, guys. The spending. This is what we always say on Twitter. Nigeria does not have a revenue problem. Nigeria has a spending problem. It's right here. This is the federal government numbers confirming that. Yes, we have to pay our debts we've borrowed. But do we have to keep on doing the spending, the recurring spending? Do we have to keep on doing that? The answer is no, and we'll show this to you guys here. That's the problem. Let's now go deeper. This is which 2024 budget we just shown. This one is one that troubles me a bit, yeah. Because if you look at this figure I've shown, I'm going to share it on Twitter again, on YouTube. YouTube guys are seeing it. The 2024 budget for Nigerian government, the capital expenditure, what was appropriated to do capital spending, was 8.49 trillion. So that means the government came out during the budget process and said, we want to spend 8 trillion on capex. 8 trillion. Fine. What was actually spent? What was actually released as cash to do capital projects? 3 trillion, 3.99 trillion. So they announced, hey guys, we're going to spend 3 trillion on capital expenditures. And then after they announced it, what happened? They only spent about 3.99 trillion. So they did the big reveal. They got they got the accolades. We're going to spend record amount, 8.9. They only released cash for 3.99. But that's not the problem. The real problem is this. They borrowed 12 trillion. So guys, let's just understand what I'm saying. They said they were going to spend 8 trillion to build roads, to build airports, capital projects, railways, roads, capital, 8.4, even street lights, 8.4 trillion. They only released 3 trillion, 3.99 trillion. But the problem is this, they borrowed 12 trillion, 12.6 trillion. So the question now is this. If you borrowed 12 trillion and you were going to spend 8 trillion on capital projects, why didn't you just borrow the 12 trillion, give 8 trillion to do the roads, and then use the other 4 and do recurrent expenditures? That's the question, and that's why we're having this space. Where's the money? They borrowed 12 trillion. This is last year. They borrowed 12 trillion last year. They only released cash of 3 trillion. Only released cash of 3 trillion. Where's the other money? Where are the other funds? Only cash released for capex, 3 trillion. That's why they're carrying over the budget to next year, because they've only done half of what they promised to do, just in cash release. So the federal government of Nigeria is not borrowing for capital project. That is the summation of what we're saying today. They are not borrowing for capital project, because if they were, they would have taken this 12 trillion borrowing and they would have apportioned it to capital project. But rather, they've borrowed to repay debt that they have borrowed. So here what they are doing, they are borrowing to repay debt, they are borrowing to repay salaries. Then the jara that remains, they then do roads. And again, guys, this is 2024. We don't have any numbers whatsoever for 2025. Again, I'm sharing again from these numbers are all from the federal government of Nigeria. They're not my figures. They are all from the budget office of the federal government of Nigeria. Look at this slide again I've shared, this new slide I've shared. Just if you just follow on Twitter, I'm sharing them on Twitter so you can have an idea of the numbers as well. What I've done here again, I've gone to the capital budget for 21, 22, 23, and 24. We've put the amount. So you see in 2021, the federal government budgeted 3 trillion for capital projects, and they released 3 trillion. This is 2021. Under Buhari, they said we're going to spend 3.93 trillion. They released 3.08 trillion. Under Buhari that we love to abuse, So, that's what they did. They released the money. Then they only borrowed 4.51 trillion. So 2021, we're going to spend 3.9. We released cash of 3.08. We only had debt of 4.5. Let's fast forward 2023. We said we're going to spend 7.95 trillion. We only released 3 trillion. This is 2023. We're going to spend 7.9. We released 3.6. Then we borrowed 6 trillion. Again, if you borrowed 6 trillion, why didn't that money simply go to the capex budget? Why? Why are you borrowing to pay salaries? We've said it here. This is the proof. This is their own numbers, not my numbers. They borrowed 6.6 trillion. They only released 3.6 trillion for capital projects. That means the rest went to recurrent. That's what it means. Unless it's in their houses, it must have gone to recurrent expenditures. And what they put in the budget was 7.9. They put 7.9, got the accolades, only released 3.6, 2023. Look at 2027, 2024 now, the last year that we have records. They announced they were going to spend 13 trillion. They only released 6 trillion, but they borrowed 12 trillion. So you are going to spend 13 trillion, you borrowed 12 trillion, then you only released 6 trillion. So where did the borrowing go to? Where is the money? That's the problem. Where is the money? This took me a lot of time to do this research. I've given you year by year. Someone will come and say, oh, we're attacking Tinubu. This is also Buhari. 2021, Buhari's budget was 3.93 trillion capex. He released 3.08, nearly 100%. Then he borrowed 4.51. But then we now have Mr. Tinubu that's coming and has borrowed, he said he's going to spend 13 trillion and has borrowed 12 trillion. And out of what he borrowed, 12 trillion he borrowed, he only spent 6 trillion on capex. So guys, let's bring this home. Let's go to the last slide. And if you want to speak, you can request to speak. And of course, I'll add you up. I'll give you guys a lot of numbers. There are more numbers. I don't want to overburden you with numbers, but this is going to be my last slide, and I'm going to open up the floor. So if you want to speak, request for the mic. Tell me if you can find where the numbers are, or if you can explain what's going on. This is going to be my last slide, right? This is the problem with this whole thing I've shared out with you. This last is the problem with this, right? In 2025, remember, in 2025, we have no numbers from the government. We have no numbers that what they're going to spend. This is what they're going to. We don't have any numbers for 2025. But according to the budget was predicated on us spending 49 trillion. We want to spend 49 trillion. And out of the 49 trillion, we want to have revenues of 35 trillion, which means we're going to borrow about 13 trillion. We're going to borrow 13 trillion, which comes about 1.1 trillion every month. The problem, guys, is this. That revenue we're going to get of 35 trillion is based on us exporting 2.01 million barrels of crude oil at $75 a barrel. So we have to, for us to make that revenue number of 35 trillion, we've got to drill crude oil of 2.06 million barrels a day and sell at 75 barrels a day. Today, our oil output number is 1.4. OPEC's quota is 1.5. So OPEC says you guys can sell 9 or 1.5 million barrels a day. Nigeria cannot even do that. We can't even do that. We can't meet that number. So it's crazy, yeah? We can't even meet the OPEC's quota. But most importantly, because we had a revenue of 35 trillion, that's why we are borrowing 13 trillion. But oil price today is 65 a barrel. And now our budget is going to be 75 a barrel. Output was supposed to be 2.06, it's now 1.4. You see the gap has increased. So now we now have a big gap. That gap is going to be funded by borrowing. That's why you see every day we are borrowing. That's why when the president came out and said he has met his target, I was shocked. How can you meet your target when you are borrowing? We've seen the numbers. They are borrowing their eyes out, and the money isn't going to capital. So he said, I've met my target. Whether it's met your target on oil or non-oil, you are borrowing massively. What he has borrowed is more times what he has met on oil or non-oil. That's what's going on. So that's why I think, this is my own opinion, that's why 2025 numbers are not out, because they're a mess. It will show us the continuation of record revenues, record borrowings, and record non-financing of capex. That's why it's not out. How can the largest economy in Africa, quote unquote, not release a single budget implementation report for 2025? If you, I ask you on this space, if you had someone that you were sponsoring to school and that person had not given you one report of how he has spent his money or one report from school, would you keep giving that person money? Why should Nigerians pay tax when the government has not told us what it has done with our money in 2025, the entire 2025? There's no budget. We're in December 2025. There's no budget has been released. None has been submitted. We're just crying over everything 2026. I think I've spoken enough. Let me get Scholastic Adaku Samuel to hop in here, and maybe he can find our millions for us or our trillions for us. So Scholastic, good morning. How are you doing today? Scholastic Adaku Samuel is not ready. Let's go over to Cyrus. Cyrus, my good friend. Cyrus, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm very good, Kalu. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, sir.
Yeah, very interesting insight. Some of the things we've been talking about for a long time now, that the numbers don't just make sense.
They don't make sense.
And they don't make sense. And was it not in earlier 2025, I make a statement that if I was the president, or I was the budget planning, I was part of the budget planning committee, I would need to question some of the assumptions that they have, right? Because if you are going to a budget year and you have certain assumptions and where you want your finances, or where you want to channel your finance, or where you want to get your money from, then your assumptions don't necessarily even make any sense. We're going to 2025 knowing fully well that the price of oil will drop. In 2023 we had an upkish year of oil price that sold between $75 per barrel and between $75 and $72 per barrel all through the year. Oil price never dropped below $69 per barrel in 2024. Now, every analyst, every forecast was saying that oil price would drop below $69 per barrel in 2025. That was the general consensus. And then you made a budget predicated on an oil price of $75 per barrel, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Then you went ahead, you have then we're producing 1.3 million barrels per day. Then you have an assumption of 2.06. You wanted to increase your oil output by over 25%. Without telling anybody how we are going to do that, what exactly are they going to revamp new oil wells? We're just granting new oil licenses to independent and foreign oil investor in Q5 2025. In fact, the oil licensing will not be completed until Q1 2026, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at our average oil production so far in 2025 has been 1.5, 1.6 thereabout.
Yeah.
Counting even condensate, right, which is sold in naira.
Yeah.
So I asked them that, why are you making these predictions? It's one thing to be ambitious rather. It's one thing to have big plans, but your numbers don't make sense. Even if from a personal finance note, if I have big plans and big ambition, I want to spend that. At the end of the day, I have to do the reality check on my own personal bank account and say, okay, what do I have? What can I have? And that's why we keep going to capital market to issue aggressive bonds, aggressive security instruments, because that is the only way to finance all of these things we are doing. And you mentioned that the in 2022, 2023, there was an uptick in 2024 and 2025 in revenue, and you can see an uptick in debt also.
Yeah.
The primary factor for that, the revenue primarily, of course, obviously, subsidy removal gave the government breathing room. But because of policy mismatch, you remove subsidy, at the same time, devalue your currency. So the gain of removing of subsidy itself has already been offset by the reduction or the windfall that comes from devaluing your currency. Let me explain what that means. I know you do, at least for the listeners.
Yeah.
Is that if you were gaining, let's say, so and so naira from subsidy, when you move subsidy, what happens is that your debt, your external debt obligations, they go up, including your debt services go up, external debt services go up in naira terms. And so you see our 2024 debt, our 2023 and 2024 debt, external debt, not that they borrowed more, not that they aggressively borrowed more. The total amount of money that the government has borrowed so far from an external debt level is $3 billion. Based on my own calculation, of course, based on the Q2 2025 DMO report that I have.
That's 2025, right? You're talking about 2025.
Yeah, the Q2 2025, that's the one I have access to. That's the one I see it out. So it's $3 billion they borrowed so far, external debt, right? So not that they were borrowing, but in a climate of devaluation, what happens is that your external debt goes up and your external debt services go up. I was making the argument, I was telling somebody yesterday under a post that, look, Nigeria is defending the naira with borrowed money. The person was laughing.
That is true. It's we see it right here. We see it right here. It's right here. Nobody can laugh anymore. It's right here.
Exactly. And the person was like, but because it's just common math. It's just common. You just have to know what the masses, where CPN Cardoso was boasting that the country received $20 billion in capital inflow, right? Capital inflow is the foreign money that comes to your country, right? Ask him. He did not tell us how much of that money is portfolio investment, which, by the way, is over 90%. The rest is equity.
Yeah. Cyrus, you have to understand. Let me understand what you're saying. Let me understand what you're saying, because I think because we're finance, but let's just try to break it down. Nigerians' foreign reserves is at a record 45 billion today. Record 45 billion. What Cyrus is saying is this: when you borrow money, or when money enters, let's just not say borrow. When money enters Nigeria, dollars, it goes to the Central Bank of Nigeria. So when you send money, let's say you're in America, you're in Houston, you send money to your mother. That money goes to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Then Central Bank of Nigeria will then will then give it to the bank. The bank will then give it to your mom in whatever, right? When you borrow money to Nigeria, when Nigeria borrows Euro bonds, the money goes to the Central Bank of Nigeria. When you invest, maybe you sit in your computer, you see Nigerian bond from a finance house, and you buy that Nigerian bond, the money goes to the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's the 45 billion you are seeing amongst other inflows. If you do foreign direct investment, let's say you want to buy land in Nigeria for a company, and you buy that land in Ogun State, the dollars goes to Central Bank of Nigeria. So it's all that money that you were talking about that's going as a 45 billion. So what Cyrus is saying, when you see Naira come down to 1.4, Naira is getting stronger. Why is Naira getting stronger? Because traders are looking at the foreign reserve and saying, wow, Nigeria has 45 billion. We can't, quote unquote, short the Naira anymore. The Naira has backing. But that backing is backed up by investors buying debt, Nigerian debt, Nigerian UMO, Nigerian bonds. So we are borrowing to put the money in the Central Bank of Nigeria, and that is corresponding with a rise in the value of the Naira. Again, before CBN was selling dollars directly to BDCs to also prop up the Naira. That's what Cyrus is saying. Cyrus, Abi?
Absolutely. The intervention continually becomes more frequent than the so-called orthodox or money flow that they promised us. But that's a conversion for under day anyway. So, but the point is that if I was in the position of the government, right, I have, and like you said, I have a budget plan. I know what my finances are, right? And I know what my projections are based on market fundamentals, based on reality, based on what oil price. Because if oil sneezes, Nigeria economy catches cold. We often talk about non-oil revenue, but one of the things we don't mention is VAT. About 30% of that VAT is oil VAT. If we break down our VAT, VAT comes from oil, comes from finance, comes from telecoms, comes from import and the likes of that.
Import VAT is the main one, right? When goods enter.
Import VAT is about 30%. But a huge chunk of that VAT also comes from oil VAT, which is accrued to FIRS and not NUPLC. So even though NUPLC is not the one like allocating or giving the money to federal government and it's FIRS, it's still oil money. It still boils down to how much oil you produce. Because if you produce oil, if you have more oil, people in the oil company, they have better business, good business, they pay you more VAT.
Good. Cyrus, Cyrus, let me ask you a question. I asked this question on Twitter. People are getting answer. Let me ask you a question. Can any state in Nigeria survive without FARC?
There's no, maybe 2 or 3, and it's going to be with austerity measure.
I don't think there's any, Cyrus. You've already answered the question when you say it with austerity measures. I don't think there's any. When you ask this question, people go back to the VAT because Budget It does this very, very nice report. Even Statistics does this nice report where they will take the IGR of a state and they compare the IGR of the state to the salaries and the local expense. And they say, okay, because this state is making IGR, not FARC, IGR, the state can pay his wages, it can cover its expenses, it will not die. But that ignores the fact that the IGR is based on payee. So let's go to Lagos, let's go to the big elephant, Lagos State. Lagos State's record IGR comes from payee. What is payee? Payroll tax. So let's assume today oil price went down to $10 a barrel. $10 a barrel. That means Nigeria is not going to have any FARC. Abi, that's what it means. FARC will evaporate. What will Lagos tax? Lagos is supposed to tax the salaries of the workers in Agbara, of the workers in Ikeja, in Ikoyi, and all that. But which state, which bank will employ 100,000 staff if there's no more FARC? None. There will be massive layoffs in Nigeria. If oil price goes to $20 a barrel, that means Nigeria is going to make zero FARC. There will be record layoffs in Nigeria. If there are record layoffs in Nigeria, there is no IGR from payee. So the answer, Cyrus, is there is no state in Nigeria today that can survive if oil prices go down because FARC is oil. Trade in Nigeria is oil. We have not diversified the economy at all. Don't take my words for it. Look at the trade report that has been released by Nigerian Bureau of Statistics every single quarter. Oil is nearly 81% of our trade, nearly 8% of our forex. All this cocoa, palm oil we're doing is just not nonsense, but we're not doing anything with that. So if oil price falls, IGR for every state in Nigeria is going to crash. We are still an oil state. And that's why this budget makes sense. That's why everyone should pay attention. Cyrus, we are funding, look at the slide I shared. We are funding Nigeria with debt, not with the income. You know, I made a statement a long time ago. People were pardoning me. I said debt is revenue. I'm not saying in accounting that we're taking debt to revenues. The point I'm making is that you are taking that debt, the money from that debt, that's what you're using to pay salaries. And it's right here in black and white, Cyrus. 2024.
Which is not supposed to be the case.
But that's what we're doing.
If you issue long-term bonds, the objective for long-term bonds is to have enough wiggle room to allocate funds to long-term capex, right?
Good.
So that you can hedge against things like inflation and other things like that. You know, the burden of paying back quickly and other things like that. But what we do is that we go to the capital market, we issue all these huge bonds and everything, and then we use the money to service debt. Number one. The number one thing we're using the money that we collect to do is service debt. Because our debt services keep going up.
How can, I mean, look, just hear your statement, Cyrus, that Nigeria is borrowing money to service debt, not to build roads. Man. So Cyrus, look at the numbers. Guys, go back to the numbers I shared. If you're on YouTube, it's up. Go back to the numbers I shared from the 2020 to 2025. Go back to that number of income, expenditure, deficits, and debt. Notice something, right? Every year, the amount of money we borrow in the next year is more than the income we get in the past year. So look at 2020. We borrowed 4.5 trillion in 21, but the income in 20 was 3.9. Ignore 2020, that was COVID. Ignore 2020, that was COVID, right? Because COVID, nothing was happening in 2020, 2023, that was COVID. Go to 2023. Nigeria borrowed 12.6 trillion in 2024. That amount was more than the total income the federal government made in 2023. Let me say it again. The amount of money Nigeria is borrowing in the corresponding year, the year following, usually is more than the amount of money Nigeria earned in the year past. That's not a country, Cyrus. You can't have a country where you are borrowing more each year than the total amount of money you make in income. How is that a viable entity? If this was a private company, this is not a going concern, Cyrus.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. That's why if you see the debt service in the part, one of the documents you shared in 2024, the what's it called? The debt servicing is the deficit itself is about 12 trillion.
Yeah.
The debt servicing itself of that year is about 12.6 trillion.
Yeah.
So you could see that part. So it's like we're just borrowing to stay afloat. We are borrowing to stay afloat and maintain an image that everything is going well, everything is fine. Not that if you have a very structured bond issuance, there's nothing wrong with going to the capital market to raise bond, whether Euro bond or local bond. You use it to the Lagos Calabar Expressway that they are doing and other things like that, and other projects, so that you hedge against inflation and other economic concerns and things like that. But no, we're not doing that. We're using it to shore up reserve. We're using it to defend the naira, and we're using it to pay back the external debt services that we are owing. And that's what we've been doing for the past 2-3 years, because the assumption itself does not make sense. I've hammered on this thing over and over again that where we are heading to is very dangerous, because the assumptions that we are having towards what we are earning and what our expenses are and what our priorities are do not make any sense.
Cyrus, where is our 20 trillion in 2024? Where did it go to? Tell us. Where is the 20 trillion, 20.9 trillion Nigeria earned in 2024? Where's the money?
That's the question, right? Because the promise from the government is that once subsidy is gone, and some of us publicly supported the government subsidy, right?
I did.
The subsidy is out of the way. the government will have a wiggle room to reallocate finances to things like healthcare, like education, like infrastructure, and others, quality services. So people would see that, okay, there's money made available for these things. But right now, we still have huge number of, 2 years down the line, huge number of out-of-school children, aging infrastructure, legacy debt, bad roads, incomplete projects, and balloon debt. So it begs the question, like you said, that, okay, where is the money? And because people begin to wonder, what then is the windfall, what then is the gain of the subsidy removal, or probably the subsidy removal was inevitable because the country is already collapsing.
Yeah, it was inevitable because they had to remove subsidy, and they also had got to do what's it called? They also had to remove the peg on dollars. I get that. The point I'm making is this, right? The revenues are going up. When President Tinubu said the revenues are going up, he's not lying. 2023, if we go back to the numbers, which I'm just going to make sure I have it right here, he's not lying, right? So the numbers, he's making 20 trillion. This is last year. The year before, he made 12 trillion again. So where is that money? That's the point I'm trying to get to. Where is that money? Because where has he taken that money to? He has got money from subsidy removal. He has gotten money from borrowings, but he's not allocating the money towards capital projects. What budget, sir, Cyrus, is the coastal road on? Wait, what budget is it on? Because they are moving. Remember, before this, they set the budget to start in September, that the capital project for 2025 will start in September 2025. But before September 2025, they had already started doing the coastal road. Now they say they have, and they did that coastal road from a borrowing they did from the Deutsche Bank in Germany. They borrowed money from the Deutsche Bank in Germany and started the coastal road. The road was supposed to be PPP. They borrowed money in Germany for that. So what budget is that road on? Where is the money going to? I'm asking questions. I'm giving figures. And I want folks to tell me what's going on in the country. Where is the money? If we're making all these revenues, then where is the money? That's really just what I want to find out. Where is the money? We have to know where the money is. We know their own figures don't make any sense. So if you have an idea where the money is, you can. I'm getting DMs. People are saying, "Yeah, oh wow." No, don't get angry. Don't call anybody names. It's a very, very simple space. If you know where the money is, tell us where it is. If you have an idea where you think it could be, let us know. But we don't have the time to abuse people, right? We're not here to abuse anyone. So the DMs, let's have a sensible discussion. This is your country. Again, we're stopping at 2024. Somebody's asking why it's not 2025. There is no number from 2025. None. There is no number from 2025. If we had 2025 numbers, we'll show them. There is none. That's why we're at 2024. There's a lot of borrowing, and Cyrus has been here explaining. When we say it on Twitter, Nigeria is borrowing to pay salaries. This is what we're talking about. It's not our figures. So, Cyrus, will the income from taxes, will that be a major income header that will maybe reduce the borrowing? Because I don't think so. We're already borrowing in advance of that tax inflow. Where it's like we're saying we're going to make money from this new tax regime, then went and borrowed more.
So on the issue of the tax listed, and I think that's what they are betting on in 2026, Q3, Q4,
yeah,
and maybe going forward. But on that, I feel like, well, they're going to make a lot of money from it. That's no doubt. If you are doing all of these things, three things that they are trying to do, inclusivity, that means like bringing those who are not paying taxes before, or those who assume that they are gaming the system and they are not paying what they should be paying. So they are trying to people, so they are using all kind of criteria to bring people in. And that's why I tell people that when it comes to this tax thing, don't be lost in the nuances. Follow the bottom line, what the government is trying to do. Number one is the inclusive part. They want to almost everybody. And if you can even get 60% of Nigerians into the tax bracket net, you can get a lot of revenue from that. Right? Without drive productivity, that's a different question. Without resorting to more, business, people opening more businesses, people risking more capitals in different places. That's a different conversation. As long as you are paying your taxes, as long as you are part of the people who the government can easily deduct his money from, it's good to go. Yeah, so that's the second one, first one. The second thing is that probably there will be less pressure on oil revenue, right? Because right now the government does not have any control on how much the crude oil price is sold, or even in some cases how much crude oil is, how much, which they're supposed to, but they probably don't have control on how much crude is produced in the country. So that is something that they are thinking maybe we are going to move away and pivot away from oil revenue and focus more on things like VAT, things like CIT, things like capital gain tax and other things that they can get the money from. So that's like one of the objectives that they're trying to achieve, which I think they might do that. But the bigger issue, Kalu, is not even about the revenue. Like you said, the revenue keep doubling. It might even double in 2025. There might be a surge in revenue in 2026, pardon me. In 2026, there might be a surge in revenue. The problem is that the assumption of that you can keep spending and spending and spending, and there will not be consequences. That is where the problem is.
But they can,
because you keep telling the Nigerian people, tighten your belt. But you yourself you have no regard for that. You think that you can have an ambitious, spending spree, and there will not be a net boomerang of that. That has been for me. That has been the biggest issue that it seems so that this government cannot see. That look, you can't just keep going down this way. Why have we refused to bring down interest rate?
Yeah.
Primarily because we do not want to risk, a downward inflow of portfolio investment.
Yeah. So
it's not because of any other thing.
So Cyrus, again, you are saying something very, very profound. You have to explain to people. So what you're saying is that the Central Bank of Nigeria is not reducing rates. Inflation is coming down. We had inflation is coming down from about 30. It's now about 19. But the central bank has not reduced its interest rate. You are saying it's because they want to keep on attracting money from foreigners. They want to keep on attracting dollars. So they haven't reduced their MPRs to about 27. So our dollars can keep on coming in.
Just look at it across emerging markets in Africa. Nigeria is the only country in Africa that has raised hiked its interest rate by 850 basis points from the beginning of the year.
Ghana is
There's
down.
There's no other country offering such return.
Ghana's rates are coming down. They've used gold. Their rates have gone down.
Kenya, South Africa,
Kenya is coming down.
That Kenya is bringing its own down against. In fact, Kenya rate is counterintuitive because while interest rate is slightly going up, the CBN is still maintaining a moderate interest rate. While inflation rate is slightly, it's still in a single digit. Why inflation rate is slightly going up? They are trying to maintain a moderate interest rate, and the idea is that they want to boost local manufacturing. That is Kenya. But Ghana is in a party mode right now. Like people living in Ghana are laughing at every other African country because
they're laughing at Nigerians. They're laughing at Nigerians. I'm on Ghana Twitter. They're laughing at Nigerians. And Ghana was in recession. They were in deep recession 2 years ago when they couldn't even pay their debts. I was consulting for some folks that bought a lot of Ghanaian bonds because they were paying so much money. They bought Ghanaian bonds and Ghana government did a haircut. Nigeria has never done a haircut. So Ghana was dead. But now look at them. And what have they used, Cyrus? What has Ghana done, which Nigeria could have done? Nigeria started it, but we stopped. Ghana simply took their gold. They took their gold reserves. They used cedis, local currency, to buy gold. Then they take the gold into the Central Bank of Ghana. Instantly, they convert cedis to dollars. Instant. That's alchemy. If you take Naira, Nigeria started this. Under Buhari, Buhari set up the federal government artisanal gold program. I forget the name. But what Buhari was doing, Buhari was taking Naira to buy gold from Osun and Zamfara. And then taking that gold to the Central Bank of Nigeria, which then meant that the naira, Buhari was converting naira to dollar. It boosts the reserves of the central bank, thus making naira stronger. Is that Prince Aidi that killed him? But that's what he was doing. If we had secured Zamfara and mined our gold, Osun is kind of safe. We also mined gold. Osun has a gold refinery there. We would have taken more gold to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And with that gold, we could have reflated the central bank's balance sheet. That even these ways and means that we took from Buhari would not have occurred, would not have basically been a big problem, and would have made the Naira stronger. We haven't done that. Ghana has taken gold and has propped up their currency. As a matter of fact, I read a report that the Ghanaians were now worried that the strong cedi, here, the strong cedi is making their export of cocoa fall. That's Ghana's problem. That our currency is now getting too strong, that their cocoa might not sell. That's their problem. We were still in the woods. We're still wallowing a bit in the woods. Cyrus, since I have you here, you want to comment on that? I have to ask about the tax easing.
Honestly, Ghana has it, like Ghana get it right. Sometimes I look at their numbers. Just recently, their GDP grew by 5.5.
Oh man.
Q3, Q3. That is the last number that came out about 2 weeks ago. Grew by 5.5. Inflation moved from earlier this year about 11% to 6%. Wow. Ghana inflation now is now 6%. It's a single-digit inflation, one of the lowest right now, in sub-Saharan Africa. So Ghana has, Ghana is on good feet. And like you mentioned, the reform and the structure, the gold. Another thing they also did was that they ended the gold for there's a system called gold for crude, whatever system in their CBN and their Apex Bank, which they stopped, which was fueling corruption and arbitrage. They also removed so many other unnecessary taxes. Right? Yeah. There was this COVID tax that the last president put on the people because of COVID. Yeah. And when the president left, the tax was still there. So he removed that. He removed a lot of levies. I mean, Mahama just, he came back and, got things right, and he put his feet up to, I don't think it's up to 2 years or even a year.
So, oh my God. So I want to ask you about this France tax, and if you know any information about it, now I'll come back to the budget. So the FIRS signed an agreement with the French tax people. I can't comment more. I've been looking at that story. I wanted to get my hands on what they signed. I can't get it. I see the communique from FIRS, but I can't get my hands on the papers. If I read the paper, I would know where they are going to. What's your view? Just your 20,000 feet in the air view of what's going on.
My own opinion is two things. My own view of this whole tax and where we approach tax and revenue in Nigeria is two things. Number one, the government is not sincere. And that's why we are spending, we are wasting time and energy paying content creators rather than, just be sincere with people. Number two is the fact that our approach to taxes is even wrong. Tax is a mechanism for revenue collection, but it is not the only mechanism, neither is it the primary mechanism. The primary mechanism or the primary objective for taxation is to spur productivity.
True.
You use tax as a tool to spur growth, to spur productivity, to get more people in the labor market and more people working and more people investing in your country. So the government put the cart before the horse. Productivity comes first, revenue comes second. That has been the underlying philosophy behind this government, is that they just want money. They just want to get money, and any way to get money is fine by them. So they keep imposing all of these unnecessary levies on people. Now, back to the question of the France thing. One thing you can say about France and its footprint in Africa is that it has not been it doesn't have credibility, right? I know many Francophone countries are kicking France out, like Mali, Burkina Faso. We saw what happened with Guinea-Bissau recently, Niger, for example. And, many of them are saying that France is an extractive economy. What they are trying to do is simply to extract mineral resources at the expense of the people, right? And that has been the argument. Now, I'm not in favor of military dictatorship or whatever. I don't care. That's not my view. But everybody cannot be wrong. every Francophone country maintain that this country determine what the economic rules will be. They have draconian and restriction rules on their currency, and they are extracting their mineral at the expense of their people. So if that is the case, why are we opening our tax portal to the same country? That should be a very sincere question every Nigerian can ask. Why is France becoming the new darling of Nigeria? Besides, historically, they are not even our primary allies. So why are we turning towards France to the extent that we are sending our troop to another country, to do all kind of things, even to the point that today our troop has been detained in Burkina Faso.
Yeah,
and it's a very, very sensitive thing, because if France begins to determine, what your tax collections will be and what the rules will be, and you open all of these books to them, who know, what they might do. Like you said, I'm not privy to the information yet, because it's just an MOU and a press statement that is being released currently.
Gotcha.
But I've said Nigeria do not miss the opportunity to miss opportunity.
Okay.
It's at this point in time that we're supposed to align way more with United States. If we align with the United States, we have more and more to gain in terms of oil and gas, in terms of trade, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of industry. We have more to gain than we do with all these other guys like China. I don't have a problem with China, by the way, like France and Saudi Arabia. We've gone to Saudi Arabia a couple of times. Till today, there's nothing that has come from there. So I feel like we just don't know where our position is when it comes to geopolitics. And maybe because of our religious and ethnic affiliation, we feel like United States cannot be trusted. But I feel like they offer more opportunities to this part of the world than people like France. Because France credibility, France track record in Africa has not been credible. And if you are opening your finances to that kind of country, there's a lot, it raises more questions than it answers.
A quick question for you. Can a parastatal sign an MOU with a foreign entity?
I don't know what the law is regarding that, but Nigeria is a country that does not regard these things. We don't regard laws, we don't regard protocols, we don't regard, what the primary way of doing things. I remember the last time that Nigeria issued a importation 15% importation rule on petrol. It did not come from the presidency. It came from FRS.
Yeah, but I get that. But yeah, sorry, that's still a local thing, right? I'm just saying that the FIRS is an agency, right? They now go sign something with a foreign person. I've not seen what they've signed, so I'll give them due diligence and say, hey, I haven't seen it. But just on the smell test, can you, as an agency of the federal government, go sign an agreement? The National Assembly has got to approve all agreements. I know all foreign treaties, it has to go to National Assembly. All. That's when we did Bakassi, it had to come back to National Assembly to sign. So again, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I've not seen what they've signed, but whatever. If it's just cooperation, maybe they want to train people. Even that alone itself, you want to ask yourself, even that alone, on training alone, should they not go through the National Assembly? Even if you say, I want to go to a foreign entity to train Nigerians, it's still a foreign entity. So I don't know if the FIRS can just wake up and say, oh, we're going to go to North Korea and we're going to sign an agreement with North Korea. Because when you do that, like you said, it triggers, Nigeria and France are getting closer. Okay, is France a friend of who and who and who? Then it starts to sort of come down. So I just think that maybe something we should look at, if they can just wake up and do that. I wish they would publish what they've signed. They've sent out the communique to say this is what they signed. But for full transparency, if they could publish what they signed, then folks like us can read it and say, well, this is nothing. But if they keep on keeping it secret, then people are going to be saying, oh, Tinubu is going to France. Now France is signing a tax agreement with Nigeria. And it's a sharing of personal information, because you can understand we're going towards the American tax system, whereby whatever you spend, you heard Mr. Tai will say that whatever you spend or your bank account, they can go to the bank and request for that information. So essentially, the assumption folks are making is that France will know what you are spending. The second question is, why is it France? Why not the EU? France is a massive owner of the EU project. Why is France signing an agreement with Nigeria and not the EU signing an agreement with Nigeria? It's questions in the air, Cyrus. I don't know if you have anything, but if not, we'll move on to. I also have someone I want to talk to you about.
Well, even you mentioned the National Assembly. The question is that even if they follow through the National Assembly, will the National Assembly scrutinize whatever document is presented by FRS or by any agency that is given to it? So you are very right, because one of the things that the tax reform is trying to do, like you said, is to target not only Nigerians living and earning in Nigeria, but also Nigerians living in diaspora and earning over there, and also businesses over there that are, that hire Nigeria here. I have a friend who works for a company, a tech company in India, and they hire a lot of Nigerians remotely, a lot of Nigerians. So what they do is that they send in their paycheck and whatever, and they expect the employee to sort out the taxes. Now, the guy is telling me that because of the new reform that is coming up, the company is asking certain information from them, like bank and things like that, and probably starting from next year, the company can then deduct. He said the company can then deduct, some of those taxes from them, even before, giving the money to them, like even before paying them the salary. So definitely, Nigerian government will need some collaboration from other foreign entities and foreign countries to go about this thing. This is a company that is in India, not even in an European country. So I know that might be one of the reasons why they are doing all of this. They are doing it is no doubt. But again, back to what I said, the issue is sincerity. If the government is not sincere, if the government does not have, does not even have the courtesy to explain and communicate some of these things to the Nigerian state, that everybody has to start looking for things themselves. The hardest thing to find on Nigeria is data. You are going to go, start excavating just to get the right information, because they just make certain pronouncements that are not really true. And that's why it's hard. Some people think that it's about talking on Twitter. These things is because what I do. I go out there, I look for data, I do my own independent research to get some of these things. And it's very, very hard, because the government is doing everything to hide things from you. They are doing everything to hide everything from you until they become another PID case, and then everybody now know about it. Or another Malibu case of OPLM 451. What was it called? And then everybody now know about, like, oh, this thing is going on. But because they don't even want to communicate it to you, they are trying everything to hide it from you and let you see what is going on. Like this budget, why is there at the minimum, based on protocol, we are supposed to have Q1, Q2 budget implementation report of 2025.
We don't have
at the minimum.
We don't have it. We don't have anything. Even the for 2024, we just got, I think, the Q3 and Q4 in the last quarter. So for a very, very long while, we only had Q1, Q2, 2024. We didn't have 2025. So again, Cyrus, we're in December 2025. This is December the 14th, 2025. We don't have a budget proposal passed yet. I think the medium-term expenditure framework has been presented, but I've not seen it anywhere online. We don't have a budget proposal passed yet. We do not have...
The document are not... I don't think the document is available. What they did is that they make a press statement of it and they roll out some figures.
Yeah.
The Minister of Budget and Planning, Atiku Bangudu, roll out some figures that they're going to have, I think, 20 trillion in deficit, as opposed to the 18 trillion they had last time. I think they pegged oil around 65, which is conservative this time, but probably not realistic. And I think oil price, surprisingly, they pegged it at 1.7, if I'm sure.
Yeah.
So they're a bit conservative now, but no document has been released to the Fed. It's just basically word of mouth, and probably the next few weeks, maybe going to the new year, which is not usually the case. Usually around November October that we get these things. They are going to release, the full number and break it down for the Nigerian people. But they just said it as a word of mouth that
Yeah,
these
it's
are
not.
what these are what and what and what.
Yeah, so I mean, don't you think that a government that was going to increase taxes of citizens in 2026 should tell the citizens what they've done with the taxes in 2025? I mean, we don't know what they've done at all in 2025. Nothing, zero. We don't know how much income has been earned. We don't know the expense in 2025. We don't know the deficit. We don't know the debt. We know the borrowings because there's DMO. The DMO is tracking borrowings, but we don't know anything else. And if if you look at the past, that just it means that we're going to borrow, we're going to earn more income. But under President Tinubu, we have borrowed. In 2023, we made income of 12.4. In 2023, income 12.4. But in 2024, we borrowed 12.6. So a year later, we borrowed more than what we made in the entire year. So 2023, 12.4. 2024, we borrowed 12.6. It's amazing that this is not people are not asking questions. The folks that should ask these questions I'm asking today is the National Assembly. They should be asking questions. Why is Nigeria borrowing an amount in excess of the total revenues we have collected? So let me put in perspective for you guys. NNPC, CBN, LNG, your VAT, your corporate income tax, add all the revenues Nigerian federal government has earned, all the total revenues Nigerian government has earned in 2023, added together, that was 12.4 trillion. In 2024, Nigeria borrowed 12.6 trillion. So it's a wash. It's a complete wash. All these tax revenues that we're going to earn in 2026, Cyrus, who says we won't borrow in 2027? Who says? No one knows. That's one. Number two, Cyrus, I think the main issue that rises me up is this. There's no problem with borrowing. If Nigeria can find a place to borrow $1 trillion, they should go and borrow it. There's no problem with borrowing. But when we are borrowing to spend on debt servicing, not debt payback, we're not paying back the debt, guys. We are borrowing. This figure you see here on that debt, this 12.6 is the debt servicing. We're not borrowing to pay back. We are borrowing to service the debt, number one. Then we're borrowing to pay salaries, including amnesty, including paying for private jets. That's what we're borrowing for. If we are borrowing to do this, Cyrus, the country is going to go broke very soon. If dollar, God forbid, we're Christians, so we always say, God forbid, if dollar goes to not dollar, if oil goes to $50 a barrel, we're in trouble. And Goldman Sachs and many foreign firms are saying that the oil price is going to fall in 2026. Guys, remember, the only reason why oil price is even at 75 or 65 is because Russia is fighting the war in Ukraine. If Russia and Ukraine settle their war tomorrow, oil price is going to go to $50 a barrel. 50. Then what? Then what do we do? Do we now start saying, oh, where's all the money that we borrowed gone to? Then what? So I think, guys, a bit more. There's no point to abuse anybody on the. You guys are coming to my chat to abuse. Why can't you request to speak and abuse? Don't give me the abuse to repeat. You don't have to, you have to ask questions. Last week, 2 weeks ago, they were sharing PowerPoints. The whole press and media corps of the president they're all influencers. All they do is they share PowerPoint. You go on Twitter, they'll share one thing. They don't have anyone there that knows how to talk around macroeconomics or finance in the whole media team. None of them. I've told them, hire someone. They don't have anybody, but they just talk. These are the real questions we're asking. You are announcing huge amounts to be spent on capital projects, but you don't release the cash. No cash is being released. You want to spend 13 trillion, you release 3 trillion, then you borrow 12 trillion and you pay salaries and you service the debt. That's a problem. This is not a going concern. If you keep it up like this, guys, this country will go broke. It's not my words. These are the figures from the Federal Budget Office. Cyrus, I think we're going to wrap it up. We spent about an hour.
Yeah. let me say this, like, just because me, I'm not someone that like to criticize without like saying that okay, this could be an alternative. And that's something that you can't accuse me of. You can't say, oh, you're just criticizing the government. What you have done differently? When I spoke about the which by the way they reversed the VAT increase, the 15% in 2 years VAT increase that they plan to do, I told them that this thing does not make any sense. Nigeria is a very high inflationary climate. They argue that they abuse. They said, oh, they've given you tax exemption, they've given you zero credit, they've given you zero VAT, until the National Assembly decided to say we are going to reverse this. We are going to defy it, indefinitely. So back to the issue. If I was the president, right, three things. No lie, this is hard work. Three things. Three main things. Reduce your deficit. Radically reduce your deficit. Have a consensus on how much of revenue that you are going to borrow. You reduce your deficit heavily. That is the first thing you need to do. The second thing that you need to do is that you're supposed to put in place policies that drive trade. Trade, industry, manufacturing, finance, banking. Policies, this is 2 years or more than 2 years down the line. What policies are you putting in place to ensure trade? And sometimes it could mean that you take certain losses. For example, the goal of customs should not be earning more money. That should, at least not for now.
Yeah.
That should not be the objective of custom for now.
Sure.
Ensure that there is more trade in the country, then you can do certain things to help, get the money back. You need to take some losses as a government sometimes, not sometimes when things are down. And lastly, we don't talk about it anymore, but Nigeria needs a huge inflow of FDI. There is nothing. We see Kenya getting all this money for health, get this money for tech. We see Ghana, we see South Africa, we see Mozambique. In 2024 alone, Mozambique attracted over $20 billion in FDI from oil and gas. Why can't we do that? Mozambique is not, the economy is not as vibrant as our own. Forget all these portfolio investment and trying to shop up reserve. Do everything you can diplomatically and in terms of reducing insecurity. That's why security is very, very important from an economic standpoint. You must, because capital is the friend of growth. Capital is a friend of growth. If you don't have capital, you don't have growth.
Which one comes first? Do you grow, then capital comes, or you have capital and growth comes? Which do you think comes first?
Because if there are certain capital you need to spur growth, right? If you are talking about expansive growth, if you are talking about more manufacturing or more tech hubs, more bigger industry, expert in technology, you need capital first. You need the capital first. But when growth comes, capital also follow. So capital also follow. So if you are not getting FDI into the country, you are joking. The FDI number is laughable. Nigeria is attracting $29 million. $29 million.
It's nothing. It's nothing. We're doing $6 billion or so if you on 2024, 14 and all that. It's nothing. Nobody see. We're playing. We're doing PR, Cyrus. We're doing PR. The foreign reserves are being funded by debt. The money that's coming to Nigeria is debt. It has interest cost to it. It's like me going out and borrowing money and then saying people like me. People don't like me. People are giving me money because I'm going to pay back interest. That's why they're giving me the money, not because they like me. You see government officials come on Twitter and say that Nigerian bonds were oversubscribed and they think it's a flex. You forget that it's oversubscribed because you are paying higher interest rates than Rwanda. Tiny Rwanda is borrowing lower than Nigeria. So when you offer an American, if you go to America today, your interest rates in America are what? What do you get if you put money in a CD in America? 3%, 4%, 2%. So if you go to FDIC Bank and you say, oh, I want to buy a CD and I'm putting $100,000, they're going to give you from 2% to 4%. You come to Nigeria, Euro bonds, they will offer you 7, 8, 9%. So if you are smart, what do if you're an American? You go to you put your house on mortgage. You take $1 million, you give it to Nigerian government if you can bear the risk. Nigerian government going to give you 8%. You take the 8%, you pay your HELOC at 3, 4, 5, or 6. You carry 3% and you retire to the Maldives and you sip pina coladas. It's a simple carry trade. Or you go to Japan and borrow at 0. Come to Nigeria and give them at 8, 7% spread. That's what people are doing. And Nigeria is hating, oh, foreigners are buying our bonds. Our bond was 4 times oversubscribed. It's oversubscribed because you are paying far in excess of what, quote unquote, African countries are paying. You are paying more than Rwanda. Rwanda has no crude oil, but you're borrowing more than Rwanda. Makes no sense. Cyrus, we've got Henry here. I don't know what. Henry, can you find our money? We've got Henry, he's fallen off. See, Henry, are you there? What's it called? My name is somebody. Twitter names are crazy.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear? I just wanted to ask questions. I don't really have much to contribute. I want to see when I turn on my TV, turn on my radio, listen to some persons, because I'm listening to the praises they are showering to this current administration. Economy is this, economy is that. So my question, because I respect you guys here so much, my question is, for economy now administration that is still, according to information we gather, that is still running 2024 budget to 2025, and the 2025 budget have not totally, the capital aspect of it have totally moved down to 2026, and that is to say that even when this man continues, next administration will not inherit his capital project. Nobody is even talking about that. So is there anything to talk about, to celebrate as far as this administration is concerned, or it just propaganda, lies and upon lies? I just wanted clarification on this aspect. For somebody who is not implementing his capital project, and people will be coming on national television and telling us economy is this, economy is that. Let's not even talk. I don't want to even talk about the cost of living Nigerians are passing through. I just want to talk about this real economy they are displaying on their PowerPoint, sharing on different platforms.
Yeah, let me try to be as fair as possible to the president, right? So the president inherited an economy that. Hold up, later. Just hold up, yeah. So you speak next. I think when the president came into office, right, there was no money in the country because the past administration had borrowed a lot from the CBN. It was paying, I think, $1.25 trillion to CBN, $1 trillion to CBN for the ways and means. They had no money. That's why the president very quickly said subsidy is gone, because he had to remove subsidy to get money into the country to do his what stuff. So the subsidy removal and the removal of the peg of the dollar, those were not like he had a choice. It's not like he came and said, oh, we have a choice. Let's remove subsidy. Let's not remove subsidy. Or let's peg the naira. Let's not peg the naira. He had no choice. He had to do it because he had no money. So that's where you see IMF and all saying the economy has been stabilized. The economy was like a plane that was crashing. Tinubu has come to office. He has pulled the plane up. So the plane is no longer crashing. It has now it's now on a horizontal flight. What's the next thing now, in aeroplanes? You have to take that plane's nose up. And that's the growth and that's the productivity that we're talking about. How do you take that plane's nose up? You have to take revenues and spend the revenues. You make money, you spend money. If you don't have money, you go and borrow money and you spend money. But spend money on what? If you borrow money and you spend money on paying salaries to people that don't do anything, the economy will not grow. If you borrow money and you spend on private jets, on roads to nowhere, we are still the largest infrastructure project in Nigeria by cost is the Lagos to Calabar coastal highway. Largest infrastructure project by cost. But that project is a very, very good project. If that project is done, it will open up Nigeria. It can even double the GDP of Nigeria because you now have a platform for trade between the east and the west of Nigeria. But look at the problem. We have the Lagos to Calabar coastal railway. It's now abandoned. We have the east to west road, original coastal road. It's also now abandoned. We have so many roads in Nigeria that go from Kebbi to Lagos, that bring the rice from Kebbi to Lagos. They are bad state. You go to the east, there are so many roads as well. The Benue Road, the roads in Benin, the Edo to Abuja Road, they are also bad. So what we've done is that we are spending on infrastructure, but we've taken where we should have spent money to do the one that will generate the instant growth that we need today. Because you have to survive today before you worry about tomorrow. We should have taken that money and repaired all the roads in Nigeria first, the existing roads in Nigeria first. Get growth going. Then we go to the coastal road and start that one. Right now, if you complete that coastal road today and all the feeder roads are bad, you've not achieved anything. That's the problem we're right now. So we are not spending right. The president has stabilized the plane, but the spending is wrong. If you look at the numbers we're sharing, sir, in 2023, we are borrowing 6 trillion. But the cash, where's the money going to? It's not going to capital projects. 2024, we're borrowing 12 trillion. The money is not going to capital projects. We've already shared that it's not going to capital projects. So if we keep on borrowing to consume, and again, imported consumption, it's a big problem. The latest trade report just came out. Nigeria's number one import is what? Nigeria's number one export. What's the number thing we're exporting in Nigeria? Crude oil. What's the number one thing Nigeria is importing today? Crude oil. No typo. Nigeria's exporting crude oil. Nigeria's importing crude oil. Number 1 and 2, exports crude oil, imports crude oil. That's not a country. People will say America also imports crude oil. Yes, they import crude oil to refine and export. Is that why are we importing crude oil when we have refineries here? We have oil wells here. Why is Dangote still importing crude oil? We've lost the advantage of having a Dangote refinery. That's the problem in Nigeria. We have the largest refinery in Lagos, but we're importing crude to power that refinery when we could have simply given the guy crude locally. But we can't give him crude locally because we're at 1.4 million barrels a day. OPEC is 1.5, budget is 2.1. Harry, you see the problem? So we can do PowerPoint from here till next year. The problem in Nigeria is that the numbers are not adding up. I'm asking questions today. You know, Cyrus has given recommendations. Stop the spending. I'm asking questions. We are borrowing 6 trillion, borrowing 12 trillion. We are borrowing more than the incomes we are making. Everybody's fine. Nobody's asking questions. Have you seen this kind of space anywhere else? Have you seen anyone ask these questions before this space? If we don't ask these questions, we have no record. 2015, none. 2025, none. There is no federal government record of what has been earned or spent in 2025. That's appalling, man. Henry, quick one. You have your hand is up. You want to say something?
Yes, because I wanted to clear my ignorance today. Thank you for the opportunity. Please, I have 2 more questions.
Really quick. Yeah.
Since we are discussing money, okay. My first question for this session is, in real terms, in terms of the value, is state government getting more money compared to previous administration? That is my first question for this session.
Yes. Quick answer. Yes, they are.
Okay. In terms of value.
I know what value is, but they're getting more money from the FARC, not federal government. Federal government doesn't give states money. FARC gives states money.
The money they're getting, in terms of the value, the money they're getting in the previous administration, either Goodluck or Buhari, is what they're getting now. In terms of value, in general terms, it's more than what they are getting before now. I just want to clear.
Yes, the states are getting more Naira revenues from FARC. Yes.
Okay. Clear. That I've cleared for me today. Then the last question I want to ask is, if, for instance, now, God forbid, Mr. President Bola Tinubu tenure ends today, because there's these things that we do hear from the street, where we're telling the APC guys that is building our future, is doing this for our future, for our unborn children, and this. What can we point out that he have attained economically, that this is what Nigeria have achieved for his administration? Because since he's building our future, because I see that borrowing is still going on, no infrastructure per se. So what is that thing is doing for our unborn children.
Where's Cyrus? Cyrus has left me. Cyrus has run away to leave me here. Okay, so see, yeah, and I'm going to get into trouble with this. I'm going to get into trouble. If the president were to leave office today, this second today, he has done more for one state than all of Nigeria. I mean, if you look at the coastal road alone for Lagos State is going to be a force multiplier in terms of wealth generation. You cannot discount that road. That means that if that road is ever built from Lagos to Calabar, it will change the economy of Nigeria. But it's not going to be built in 8 years. All that noise they are making on Twitter, you cannot build that road in 10 years. Why? Because it's building on swamps. It's more of coastal bridges than coastal road. When you get to once you cross Ogun, where there's land, everything is going to be bridge. So you're going to be building bridges from that Ogun state all the way through Bayelsa, all the way to Calabar. It can be built in 8 years. We don't have the money to start with. So we're making too much noise about that road. But if he leaves office today, that's going to be a signature project, but that is only in one state. He had the opportunity, like we're looking at the revenues here. He earned 12 trillion. In 2022, Buhari earned 7 trillion. Tinubu earned 12 in 2023. In 2024, he has earned 20. Where has the money gone to? He earned 20, but he borrowed 12. He earned 12, but he borrowed 6. And Buhari did not borrow more than 4 in 2021. Buhari did not borrow. And Buhari released cash backing for his capital project. So Tinubu's agenda is just 2 years in. So you can't compare with Buhari. He's just 2 years in. If next year he gets his tax revenues and he can invest his tax revenues to build out this infrastructure, then he'll be the best Nigerian president ever. But the way we are looking at the numbers, because past is prologue, look at the numbers. His style, he earns more money, then he borrows more money. That's his style. Then he does not release revenues on time. He doesn't release cash backing for his capital project. He's carrying over 2024 project. Now he's carrying over 2025 project. That is Mr. Tinubu. That is what he has done for 2 years, has been in office. These are his numbers. So if you think numbers are wrong, if you look at the past, I wouldn't have much confidence, although he can change. But looking at his numbers, big problem, Henry. Let's go to Elada was here. He dropped. Elada, hi, how you doing?
I'm doing very much well, Kalu. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, man? Cyrus has run away,
yeah, Before I even speak on, because I've been in this space for a while now, before I even speak, I would want to reference what Henry asked about states generating more money compared to other administrations.
Yeah.
I want to ask Henry if what he was referring to was even the FAAC allocations or their IGR. Because I think what he was asking for is he was trying to measure whether there has been increased economic activity across the states, this administration, compared to other ones.
Well, look at it this way, right? Look at why are we focusing on federal government? You see, if you look at the total allocation of how FAC is shared, states get more than federal government. Also look at VAT. VAT is a state revenue, not a federal revenue. Federal just collects VAT. Federal government share of VAT is about 10 or 15%. VAT goes to the states and local, not federal. So on those 2 points alone, states should get more than federal. How federal gets more money is what they call independent revenues of the federal government of Nigeria that are not based on what states are doing. Because the federal government can borrow, states can really borrow, i.e. borrow internationally. States have to apply to the federal government to borrow internationally. But when they removed subsidy, understand what subsidy is. Subsidy is this: when we imported crude oil, we have to sell at a certain price. And because we sell at a certain price, there is a cost to keep that price at that market price that we're selling. So that then incurred a cost to the NNPC. So when NNPC pays for that cost, they were debiting FAC. So when you hear subsidy of 2 trillion, NNPC would go to FAC, and instead of remitting 2 trillion, NNPC will retain 2 trillion to pay the subsidy cost. So when President Tinubu removed the subsidy regime, what he then did was that he allowed that 2 trillion to flow from the NNPC to FARC. That's why you see FARC doubled when Tinubu became president. He said subsidy is gone on his first day. And then FARC, you look at the month after Tinubu was president, FARC had almost doubled. So all states in Nigeria today are getting almost double what they got because subsidy was removed. But when subsidy has been removed, what has happened? Costs in Nigeria has gone up. VAT, inflation has gone up. Food prices have gone up. So the states should have invested back into their states to reduce the cost of governance by building CNG buses, right? That was what we were told. But it was a mirage. You can't build CNG buses in 12 months. Now you are seeing bus parks all over the place. But we should have done that before we removed. So that's the answer. FARC has gone up, but that means the cost to the Nigerians living in the states has also gone up, and we didn't really cushion that rise, if you get my meaning. Elada, are we still good?
Yes, I'm still with you. I get what you mean. And I think I've understood everything you've said today about the administration and how the administration has been, will I even use the word, trying to paint a certain picture on paper and have a different reality. But still, we cannot deny that there has obviously been, in the last, since Tinubu came to you now, there has been improved economic activity in the country.
Name it for me. Name what has improved. Give it to me.
Inflation has come down.
Okay, let's talk about inflation. Okay. And thank you for bringing that up. Inflation has come down from about 30% to about 19%, correct? It has come down significantly, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know why inflation was up in the first place?
No.
It went up because of food. In Nigeria, food is what drives inflation. So when we measure inflation, with something called the Consumer Price Index, CPI. So what it is that we just take a basket, we put things in that basket. We put MTN card, we put bag of rice, we put palm oil, we put cost of bus transport. That basket is what we measure to get inflation. If that cost of that basket goes up, we say inflation has gone up. That basket in the past was made up of 51% food. 51% food. Why? Because the average Nigerian spends about 57% of his household income on food. So how did inflation come down? Let me tell you how. They went to that basket and they reduced the food in that basket from 51 to 40%. So even though the cost of things have gone up, because they have reduced the basket of the CPI from 51 to about 40%, the rise in inflation is not as serious as it was in the past years. That's what they did. That's why you see inflation coming down sharper, because even though food prices may go up, it will not be reflective. And again, not my opinion. Go to Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, go to the last inflation report they just did, go to page 10. You will see this stated there that the inflation has come down because of the change in the base year. They changed the base year and the methodology for measuring inflation. This is NBS. Also, the government has also imported a lot of food because, again, food drives inflation. So they imported food because of the insecurity, and that new food supply has also made cost of rice go. So if you look at a bag of rice today, it's about 54,000. It has come down. But that rice is imported. No problem with that, but you are killing local farmers. I support that import of food. It has to be done in the short term because the local farmers can simply not go to the farm. They can't. So if you say we want to wait for local farmers, we'll all die of hunger. So food has come in that reduces the price of inflation. That's what's going on. That's what's going on, leader. So the numbers are correct. But if you understand why they are correct, then you then see the cracks in that story. Same with unemployment. Unemployment under Mr. President has come down to 5%. 5%. That means that what they're saying is that if you count 100 able-bodied Nigerians that want to work, only 5 are unemployed. Do you know how they got 5? They simply said if you work for 1 week, for 1 hour in a week, you are employed. So it's a play on the methodology to measure, not a real. Do you get what I'm saying later?
It's not an accurate.
The number is correct, but I'm telling you how they got the number. If you go and if you say you are before you are counting 51 bags of rice, now you're only going to count 40 bags of rice. Of course, inflation will come down.
But what of core inflation? Inflation that doesn't count food and other
why
like food that is affected by
why won't you count it when food is 57% of the household income? What else will you count? Will you count MTN card? In my place, they use MTN card. Everybody eats. In America, as we are talking about Americans do core because in America, food is everywhere. So their issue is rent. Their issue is healthcare, but not food. But in Nigeria, our issue is food. So we have to count food. We can't ignore it and say, oh, core, not core. What do you spend money on? You. Dangote, you, me, we all spend money on food. All of us, we all eat. Dangote will still eat one plate of food. I'll still eat one plate of food. 57%, that's the largest expenditure of a household in Nigeria. How you know a poor country leader is that how much do they spend on food? Americans spend about 10%, we spend about 57% on average. That's how you know a poor country. Look at how much the family spends on food. Make sense?
It does. Thank you very much for clearing me.
Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you. Let's get EG okay. EG okay. Am I saying that right? At Pleasure. Yes. Hey, Pleasure, how you doing? Hi, EG okay. What's up, man?
I'm good. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I just want you to clarify one issue which you stated. I don't think to me. I just want to clarify. You said that there was no money when Tinubu came. That is why he removed subsidy. My question is, Tinubu removed the subsidy even before he got into Villa. And also, looking at 2015, Buhari made the same statement, there was no money. Tinubu, if you say there was no money, then when we look at what he how will I say, what he's spending money on, like the yacht and all those renovation of VP house, completion of this and this, then where was the money? If there was no money, why did he remove the subsidy even without, he did not have any knowledge of the economy, of how the economy is working before he removed the subsidy. So I just wanted to clarify this, if he actually understands what is going on with economy before he removed the subsidy.
Yeah. Thank you. Great question, sir. So let's sort of go back, right? I don't know if you are watching on YouTube. If not, let me try to share this again. I'm going to share this one for you, sir. Just go on my Twitter. I'm going to, just in case you are not here, right? I will share this page, this one again, so you can follow the numbers I'm going to give you. So if you go on Twitter, sir, right? I've just shared this post just so you can follow me what I'm doing, what I'm explaining now. If you look at 2020, I've shared you the income, expenditure, deficit, and debt of Nigeria from 2020, 21, 22, 2024, right? When was Buhari president? 2021, 2022. If you notice, look at the income. Look at the income for 2020, 3.9. What's the borrowing? 2. Look at 2021. What's the income? 4.1. What's the borrowing? 4.5. Look at 2022. What's the income? 7.7. What's the debt? 7. You see where I'm going to with this? Buhari was financing the budget with borrowing. This is you can see it here. 2020, 2021, 2022. And this does not include ways and means. Buhari printed 22 trillion from ways and means. 22 trillion. This debt you are seeing here is just the one they got from federal government bonds and all that kind of stuff. The 22 trillion is not included here. So if you look at 2020, he got 3.9 trillion, he borrowed 2 trillion. 2021, he got 4.1 trillion in revenues, but he borrowed 4.5. 2022, he got 7.7, but he borrowed 7 trillion. So Buhari was running an economy whereby he was giving you cheap fuel and he was giving you cheap dollars, but he was borrowing to do it. Tinubu saw the same figures I'm seeing. He saw the same figures because he became president. He has more advisors than I do. So he basically said, for us to get revenues, we have to remove subsidy on oil and dollar. That's what he did. When he removed the whether you agree or not, I'm talking about the effect of the removal of the subsidy. Once he removed subsidy, look at the numbers in 2023. income jumped from 7 to 12 trillion. The income jumped from 7 to 12 trillion. But look at borrowing, it fell to 6. Same thing in 2024, income now goes to 20 trillion. So when Tinubu removed the subsidy, he got more revenues. Fact. That's why your crude oil, your PMS price went up and your dollar went up. If you look at, pull up any report, pull up any FAC report since Tinubu became president, you see a line there that shows foreign exchange differential. That became a huge revenue item for the states and the federal. Pull up anyone, you see exchange rate differential. That's because the subsidy was removed, dollar went up. So any income they earn in dollar, they convert to naira, they get income called income differential, exchange differential. So the fact is that the removal of subsidy was a revenue item and Tinubu got that revenue. How he spent that revenue is a different story entirely. But the point you're asking about, there was no revenue, no, that was factual. There was no money because at the stage that, remember that the last week of Buhari's administration, the National Assembly had to pass a bond to add the 22 trillion that he had printed as a federal government security the last week. Because he was going to leave office, they had to add it in there. So that's what happened. Tinubu could not continue Ways and Means because they had already been, we were paying 1 trillion in 3 months to CBN for Ways and Means. 1 trillion in 3 months. So I hope I answered the question, Mr. Joke. Are we good?
Yeah, we are good. Thank you.
Fantastic, sir. Let's get Kilo. Kilo, hi.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Kalu. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. So I'm very happy actually that I think you are gradually sort of coming to the position of that some of the decisions that were made, especially the more rash decisions, were not very good decisions. I mean, the rash decisions made by this administration were not necessarily good decisions and all of that. Because I'm hearing some things about when you were challenging the previous speaker about the economy improving and all of that. Because I remember like last year, I think it was I was on your space and I was challenging some of the, especially the subsidy removal policy that you brought in place, and you were a bit in favor of the government. But I think now, maybe because the reality is now setting much more now, so people cannot really deny what is going on. What I would say, I 100% agree with pretty much everything you said about the methodology, the fiddling with the methodology. In fact, I would even say that the fiddling with the methodology when it comes to inflation is even worse than what you are saying. Because the typical Nigerian spends over 60% on food. You are much more, you are still giving it a bit lower figures. It's over 60% that is on food. So literally they cut the weighting of food by about 33% or 20 percentage points. Now, of course, that would affect the inflation numbers and everything. So that's part of the reason why inflation is trending lower now. On the employment thing, I think you're 100% right. I don't have anything to add about that. The methodology, the way they are calculating it doesn't make sense both in a developing economy scenario, in a developed economy scenario, or a middle-income country scenario. So it's just a way to sort of fiddle with the numbers, and people who don't understand how some of these economic figures are being computed would just run away and just say, oh, inflation is trending down, things are good, unemployment is 5%. But I ask people this question: if you want to know if unemployment is really low, one very interesting way you will know is, are you seeing wage pressures all across the economy? Because when unemployment is low, companies are fighting for the same workers. And it means that they'll be offering higher salaries. But if you're not seeing that in an economy, you already know that something is up with the numbers. So that is a way that you know that the 5% number doesn't mean anything. In the grand scheme of it, it really doesn't mean anything. Now, I quickly want to add, I quickly want to correct something that you made about one comment that you made, and I think you made that mistake purposely to, how do I say it now, not to confuse people further about public finances. But I think you and I know that the government's finances isn't like a household. So yes, they said there is no money, but you also said ways and means, meaning that the government can print as much money as they can. Of course, everything has a limit because inflation is always the limit to money printing, which is what happened during the Buhari situation. Buhari literally during COVID was just printing money because at that point, in all fairness to the Buhari's government, they really had no choice. The revenues that they were getting were being gulped, like almost 100%, in fact, over 100% of the revenues was being gulped by debt service. So they had to print money. But now the printing of the money that they did was excessive and it wasn't used to create real goods and services. I think I've said it in the previous page before that every government prints money. The US prints money. The China prints money and everything. It is what it is being spent on. That is where the issue then comes up. So the thing is, when Tinubu said that they could not afford it, really, what he meant to say is that the money printing was already leading to inflation, and also political priorities were not, like his own political priorities wasn't about keeping subsidies. The thing is that if you wanted to keep subsidies, you could have kept subsidies and continue to be printing money. But of course, that would mean that inflation will be reaching possibly 35 to 40% as we are currently speaking. So that was an impact. And I'll have to say this, when it comes to a way in which you know that, and I disagree with so one of the previous people on this space, I was talking about how the economy has improved on that. No, it hasn't really. Maybe it has increased by maybe 0.5% increase in terms of the growth rate. But we are still continuing the malaise and the wrong-headedness in terms of policy making that they got from the terrible Buhari administration. For instance, for instance, we see the issue about, okay, we are driving tax revenue.
Not stop you, but if you run also we can do a response. Just not stop you, go ahead.
Okay. So you see the whole drive about tax, and the whole drive about foreign investment. Yeah, we need foreign investment. We need to improve our tax to GDP ratio. But the part that they're not talking about is the issue of investments. How do you drive domestic investment? Because for foreigners to really troop into the Nigerian economy, they need to see that a lot of Nigerians are actually making huge business decisions to improve or to expand their businesses. The government literally is silent on that. Mm-hmm. They're just going head first in on let us get foreigners and everything. One very specific way, because people always say we always criticize the government. One specific way that the government could have driven the growth to faster than they currently are doing is look at the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector has been in pretty much a recession over the last 2 years. Since this administration got it has been in a recession. One of the problems they're having is capacity utilization. If the government can bring in policies to encourage businesses to increase their capacity utilization, that will already increase jobs, increase production, increase taxes. Then the issue of the housing deficit that we have in the country, which they are saying is about 25 million units now. If they could bring in policies where we could actually start to chip away at that housing deficit number, you can imagine the millions of jobs that will be created up and down the entire construction value chain, even down to mining. But this whole tax drive and foreigners, the truth is that foreign capital is usually very fickle. It's very quick to run.
All right, Kilo.
So slow to come in, but quick to run. But they're not doing any of these things, and unfortunately, that is part of what is leading to our growth being 3.7%. Nigeria actually should be growing about 7-8%. I rest my case. Thank you.
Very well put, Kilo. I think your case was very, very well put. Let me try to address this issue of subsidy with Mr. Buhari and all that, and Tinubu. Let's address this issue of, let's do once and for all subsidy. should we have had a subsidy and all that? So Nigerians also have to take the blame. Let me give you a story, and this will help me explain this subsidy thing and Buhari's mindset. When Buhari went to the Brigade of Guards, right, is the Nigeria's most elite unit in the military. Brigade of Guards. It's our SEAL team. It's the best soldiers Nigeria has. They are the ones that are posted to Abuja. They're the ones that you see that stay behind the villa. Their job is to protect the president. Brigade of Guards. The one that have the red thing with the scorpion. That's their job. Protect the president and the administration. President Buhari went to the dinner of the Brigade of Guards. What did he tell them? He said that when he was the president in 1980, there was a coup against him, and he was removed because they wanted him to remove subsidy on PMS and to float the Naira. Where did he say this? He said this at the Brigade of Guards dinner. Why was he saying it? He was telling the Brigade of Guards that I am going to remove subsidy, or I'm not going to remove subsidy, and I'm going to peg the Naira. Last time I did it, they did a coup against me. So now I'm telling you guys, so you guys will be aware. So if anybody is saying remove subsidy, don't remove subsidy, that's a national security threat to me, General President Buhari. In that audience, I think the CBN governor was there that night. But even if he wasn't there, if you're the CBN governor and you hear the president that was removed via coup, a military man, tell the Brigade of Guards that if you touch subsidy on PMS and subsidy on dollar, it is akin to him as if you are also planning a coup. You get where I'm coming from. That's his mindset. So based on that, Buhari kept the peg on the subsidy on PMS and the subsidy on dollar. This was his biggest economic mistake. I'm very, very hard on President Buhari, very, very hard on him. But if you go and look at, he passed one policy that we don't talk about that policy too much, that actually changed Nigeria. That was his policy that if you spend money on roads, you can take it from your tax regime. I see the Tinubu admin celebrating the road that was built in Bonny. That was under Buhari. That road could only have been built because President Buhari told LLNG that they could not pay taxes, but take the money and build that road. But Buhari's presidency was damaged by the fuel subsidy and the subsidy on the dollar. Because what happens that any revenue he made, he had to use it to subsidize PMS imports. Look at the numbers, they're still up. 2021, Buhari made 3.9 trillion. He had to borrow 2 trillion. 2021, Buhari made 4.1 trillion revenue. He had to borrow 4.5. So Buhari was borrowing more than what he was making. Look at the revenue. 2022, he made 7.7, he had to borrow 7.06, minus the ways and means. So he was now locked into his own promise. That was Buhari, that he could not stop the fuel subsidy, even though it was paying more to subsidy than health, education, and infrastructure combined. He was trapped. And that's why he couldn't do much himself. That's why he had to give the private sector tax breaks to do infrastructure. He couldn't do it. He had no money. So when Tinubu came into office, whatever I want to agree, he had no money, because the way the budgets were structured at 2020, any money that came to the government went to PMS subsidy. whether it was fraud or not. That's what was happening. So Tinubu then said, I will remove subsidy. Why did he remove subsidy? So that the budgets do not flow to subsidy. He would have control over the budget. Again, that's what he did. Same with the subsidy on dollar. He took it off so he could raise revenues and decouple the subsidy economy from the real economy. And it worked. If you look at the numbers again, in 2023, revenues jumped from 7 to 12. 2024, revenues jumped to 20. Let me give you a stat. The revenue that Nigeria earned in 2024 is more than the revenue Nigeria earned in 2020, 2021, and 2022 combined. If you put together 2020, 21, 22 combined, it's not up to revenue Nigeria earned in 2024. Why? Because the subsidy was removed. Why did Mr. Buhari put a subsidy? Because Nigerians wanted a subsidy. So yes, they attacked Buhari, but we told him to do it. Even today, I know hearing people say they want a subsidy back. Yeah, I hear people say they want a subsidy back because people don't understand that the subsidy is a debit on FAC. There is no subsidy today. FAC has increased, but your costs have gone up. If you bring back subsidy, PMS price will go down, FAC will go down, your cost will go down. You choose your poison. There is no free lunch. So when you hear me saying I support the removal of subsidy, it's because on an economic level, the subsidies were distorting the economy. How can you make 4 trillion in 2021 and borrow 4.5 trillion? Where did the income go to in 4.1? It went to subsidy. That's why we had to borrow 4.5. You can't run an economy like this, Kilo. You can't run an economy or a government or a household where you earn 10 naira and then borrow 10 naira to eat. It doesn't make any sense. So the subsidy had to go. The question is now, what have we done with the extra revenues? That's the problem we have in Nigeria today. This 20 trillion we earned in 2024, where did it go to? That's the question. Why are we carrying over budget from 2023 to 24 to 25? In 2025, we're going to have the 2024 budget and supplementary, and we would have at least one element of 2023, and in 2025, all the budget. Why? It doesn't make any sense because I've showed you the reason why. All the money we are earning today under Tinubu is going to debt servicing and recurrent. It's not going to capital. I've showed the numbers to you. They are announcing huge capital projects, but no cash backing for the capital projects. So they then have to take the money from the capital project to service debt and to pay salaries. It's not my numbers. Federal government's own numbers. That's it, Kilo. So whatever we argue, Tinubu had to get money to run his own government. He can't go to Ways and Means anymore. He couldn't. And every other point you made, I totally agree with. We've got to get more productive with where we're spending money. East-West Road, Coastal Road is very, very good. But you cannot build Coastal Road when the road that takes yams from Benue to Lagos is bad. It makes no sense. Why are you building a brand new road when the existing road from Kebbi to Lagos that brings rice, Kebbi rice, is bad? You are building brand new airports in Lagos when the ports, the inner ports, the roads, the airports are all decayed. Look at today, we're all screaming. The aircraft tickets are 500,000. Why are they 500,000? There are no planes in the country. We could have taken that money to back up new importation of planes. We didn't. So, Kilo, totally agree. I also want to explain why subsidy had to go. We can, maybe in the next 5 years, we bring it back. But for now, we can't afford subsidy, Kilo. That's just the honest truth. Let's get Ishak M.O. Ishak M.O. Kilo, appreciate those comments. Thank you so much. Ishak M.O. is not ready. Let's get the real Guru NG. The real Guru NG.
Yeah, hello, Kalu.
How you doing, sir?
Today. I'm good. And you?
I'm doing very well. Watching football and also on space. How can I go wrong?
Thank God. Chelsea won this weekend. All right. What I want to say is we are asking about the money as if we don't know where the money is going.
Tell me where the money is.
This money is being embezzled. There's a reason why
do you have any
government is
proof?
doing-
Do you have any proof?
Let me. Now, for instance, I used to tell people this is how. I remember when the governor of Enugu State assumed office and he started all these smart schools and those big capital projects. I told somebody that if you see somebody that really wants to serve the people, he will identify the core need, the immediate needs of the people and address them rather than what they don't need. So why do you build smart schools when already existing schools are dilapidated? They know what they're doing. These projects give them the opportunity to steal as much money as possible. I don't know, maybe you can look at the Ministry of Works project and some of their portfolios online, ongoing projects. You will see the high level of haphazardness of projects that these people are doing. There is no coordination. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Lagos-Benin Asaba Onitsha Expressway, East-West Road. These are key roads, the Kebbi Road and the rest of them. These are key roads. Now, if you really want to grow the economy, you will first of all identify these roads, work on them, put them in a scale of, there's something we call opportunity cost in economics. Which one comes first? Scale of preference. Because this is going to serve us better than this. Let's leave. Yeah. Now, what's happening in Nigeria is a situation where they will take something here, a part of this road, and go to Sokoto and take a part of the other road. They know very well that they're not willing to connect it because they can't even connect it with that level of haphazardness. Now, they're stealing as much money as possible from those.
I hear you. So you see, the corruption in Nigeria has been there since 1960, and I can't prove corruption, but I can prove maladministration. And you are touching on something. What are the two projects that Tinubu is doing that we know for roads? It's the coastal road, then he's doing a Sokoto to Badagry road. Those two in America, in America, we call those two projects boondongles.
Oh, good.
Which means they are bridges to nowhere. They are good projects, but they are projects to excite the base, to give the base something to talk about. How can you say that the existing road from Sokoto, can you go from Sokoto to Abuja in how many hours? Oh. But you want to build a new, quote unquote, according to the Minister of Works, supersonic highway from Borno to Badagry. How long will that take? Will it take 8 years? Will it take 4 years? We don't know. But the existing roads that farmers in rural areas get food from the towns out to the villages in Borno that then feed people in Lagos, in Port Harcourt are bad. The airports are bad. The rails are bad. This is
exactly what I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
What is the essence of doing those things?
The essence is that
they are very capital intensive.
The essence
use the opportunity to steal.
I hear you, but when we say stealing, it's not that kind of space. Stealing is what everybody. There's corruption. I get you. I'm not saying there's no stealing. I'm saying I want to go beyond the stealing part. Ajaokuta did not fail because of corruption. Ajaokuta did not fail because they stole a kobo. It failed because of project management. Let me give you an example today. All the railway lines we have in Nigeria today were built by the British. The lines were built by the British. The only line the British did not build was the one from Abuja to Kaduna. And the one, I think, from Itakbe to Warri. That was built under IBB, not Buhari, IBB. When I was going to university, I saw that rail running. People think it was built by... No. Okay, so the British were here when were the British in Nigeria? From 1900s. The British built Lagos to Kano, then to Birnin Kebbi. The British also built Port Harcourt to Borno. The British. Nigeria has not done anything. Nigeria has no horizontal railway lines. You cannot go from Lagos to Calabar or Lagos to Benin or Lagos to Onitsha by rail. If you want to go from Port Harcourt,
or even connecting the
if you want to go from Port Harcourt to Lagos, you have to go from Port Harcourt to Kaduna, then Kaduna to Lagos. If you are a Nigerian, you will then understand that all you have to do to boost trade is to just build railway lines across Nigeria so that the yams in Benue can come to Lagos via a horizontal railway, so that the imports, the Benue mangoes, can be moved by rail again back to Lagos and all that. But we haven't done anything. There is a railway, we're building a railway line from Kano to Kaduna, I believe it's to Maradi. So from Nigeria to Niger Republic, it's the railway line, beautiful railway line. It's a standard gauge line. So to go from Kano through Kaduna, I believe it's going to go to the border of Niger, Maradi. That line is a standard gauge line. But from Kaduna to Lagos, from Kaduna to Port Harcourt is a narrow gauge line. So essentially what Nigeria is doing, that rail that's going to be from Kano to Maradi is not connected to Nigerian Railway. It's not corruption. The rail is being built. It's not corruption, but it's not going to work because you can't move goods from Kano to Lagos on that rail line because the rail tracks are different. So when we say stealing, is corrupt. When you say corruption, it's like they stole the money. They stole money, yes, but the project,
the maladministration,
is more of a bigger problem than the corruption.
Why is it that NNPC is not working? Is it?
It's because it's owned by the federal government of Nigeria. NLLG works. Nuclear natural gas works because Nigeria government is not there. We are only there as 49.
Over 80% of Aramco and is working.
No, but Aramco runs it. They don't run it. That's the difference. Who runs Aramco? The Oyibos. Saudi Oyibos run it. Look at Dubai. Who runs Dubai? Oyibos. Who owns it? Dubai. It's a difference in management. If you take NNPC today and give it to BP, their profit will double. Same company, their profit will double. The guys, I'm not saying they are bad managers, but they are working under the influence of the federal government. The federal government will say do this, they have to do it. You can't say no. But if it's a private company, you can't go and tell them to do this. You can't go and tell Dangote to buy you military jets and he will buy it for you because he has a board to answer to. But you can go to NNPC and say, NNPC, buy us jets. They have to buy those jets, even if they're limited. So it's a problem. So again, it's corruption. If we say corruption, it's very, very, corruption is a very, very quote unquote lazy word. Oh, it's corruption. It's maladministration where we are. See, again, this coastal road we're talking about, people go and say, oh, they're doing a good job. In economics, there's what we call scale of preference. Scale of preference. If the roads today are not good, you cannot take a trailer of banana from Abeokuta and come to, say, Benin without paying bribes, without paying this. There's no rail. Why not take this 1 trillion or so and invest in the existing roads, in the existing airports, build a new railway? We've built a rail from Lagos to Ibadan. We stopped. The standard gauge goes from Lagos to Ibadan. They've stopped. The rains in last year in Niger washed away the tracks in Mokwa. Have they fixed them? So we can't go by. This is the year 2025. Nigeria, you can't go take a container from Apapa Port to Kano or Kaduna. And then, so what are we talking about now? If you can't do simple connecting the rails, what the heck is coastal road? That's the productivity we are missing. What is let's use football terms. Let's say you are Burnley, and the owner of Burnley suddenly gets $1 billion. Then you now say, okay, Burnley, what we're going to do today? We're going to go and buy Messi. We're going to buy Messi for 500 million out of that 1 billion. You've not built a stadium to bring in new supporters. You haven't done TV rights. You just want to go and buy Messi. Okay, who Messi play? Messi will play with the existing Burnley team. How can Messi play with the existing? You have a new keeper, no attacker, no winger to support Messi. Yeah. You just buy Messi, put Messi, and say, Messi, win us Champions League. It's not going to be possible. You don't have a new gym. you'd have a new physio, you'd have a new nothing. No, just the same. Just carry Messi to Eyimba and say, okay, Messi's in Eyimba. Go and win African Champions League. It's not gonna, people will laugh at you. People say, oh, you are stupid. How can you take Messi to Eyimba? But that's exactly what you're doing today. That's exactly what you are doing today. You have east to west express road. You abandoned it. East to west railway. You abandoned it. Then you went and built a brand new rubber road from Lagos to Calabar that is on the coast. Now it's moving away from the coast into land because they've now seen that they cannot build on the swamps. When you raise this issue, they tell you, no, go back to Anambra. It's your country too. It's your country too. I'm just saying.
I want you to understand that they're doing this thing intentionally
but
in order to steal as much money as possible. And now see what is happening. It's coming down to the states. The state governors are getting a lot of money, but rather than invest in key. Now, when you go to Abia State, I'll continue to use Abia as an example. The man came in and understood the immediate need of the state. We really need to fix road because a lot of trade are going on here, a lot of businesses, we need to open up. This state is dead. And he started it and he fixed it. And look at what he's doing with power and a whole lot of other things. In Anambra State, the governor is getting more revenues, but he's using it to build inter roads in his local government to prove to people that he's building roads that lead to nowhere, rather than opening up those roads that will help to bring food from the agricultural areas into the city. They are not part of his local government. He's busy.
Let me just say something. Mr. Soludo is the reason why, if you are educated in Nigeria, it will be difficult for you to win elections, especially in Anambra State going forward. When he was running for the governorship of, when I was running for the governorship of Anambra State, I was his big supporter. I pushed. I'm not from Anambra State. I pushed him. Because I was like, this is a man that wrote the economic plan for Nigeria. He wrote needs.
No, I don't know why people believe.
Hold on. He wrote needs. He also wrote seeds. He wrote the economic plan for Nigeria under Obasanjo. Under him, the Nigerian GDP was growing at record numbers. He was a CBN governor, very, very smart guy. So I believe that if he gets into office, he will simply turn Anambra to China, which was his words. He would turn Anambra to China. He got into Anambra. I'm seeing thugs acting as policemen. I'm seeing very low quality infrastructure. When he was the governor, when he became governor, there's an airport already in Enugu, in Anambra. It's now been built. Yes. Peter Obi saved money. Obi had not built the airport. He's not the governor. He has focused more on building the state house than building up that airport to get in there. What's the point of knowing President Tinubu if you can't get that airport named International Airport? The largest diaspora, traders, not diaspora, trader diaspora in Nigeria is Anambra. Anambra has Onitsha. Anambra has Nnewi. There's a report I saw in a magazine, foreign magazine, that said the largest concentration of millionaires in Africa is in Nnewi. So clearly, you already have an international airport. You have them in China. Simply connect these things now and then open up that state to trade. But no,
you people overestimated him.
No, but I don't talk about. I don't.
Based on three things.
Real.
Experience,
Let's go.
Antecedents.
Okay, that's fine. But I just want to move.
And the exposure. This man came out from CBN. He did not head any meaningful international finance organization again. I still believe that all those things we praise him for in Obasanjo's administration were because of that government's fiscal policies that worked. He was doing nothing at CBN. Okojiwala did a fine job.
Sorry, they are correcting me that he said I was going to make it Dubai, China. Dubai, Taiwan, not China. Sorry.
Dubai, Taiwan.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
We've not even gotten to the level of.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's get others to speak. I want to get others to speak. So I mean, with the point I'm making is that there's corruption, But I think Nigeria's problem is maladministration. Again, let me quote again for you. Ajaokuta did not fail because of corruption. It didn't. Ajaokuta was, let me give you a strange stat. Ajaokuta was making steel without a steel furnace. Ask an engineer what I just said. Ajaokuta was making steel, did not have a steel furnace. Why? It's a long story, but just tell you how Nigeria operates. It's a mess. All right, let's get Oxley Tech. Oxley, how you doing? Oxley, can you speak this week? Last week you couldn't speak. Oxley Tech, can you speak?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you very much, Kalu. Really appreciate it. Okay, so what I would like to add, everybody has spoken well, but what I would like to add is, the way you pay, I see the way you painted the picture of, the inflation. Somebody came here and said inflation came down from 34% to, I think it's about 19% or now. So, right? I think it's just Nigeria is just a big lie. This administration only, what they are interested in is what makes them look good. They can do anything to make sure that they look good. They can manipulate figures. They can change things. You mentioned that the basket of inflation, the food component of it was reduced from, is it 55% to around 40% or less? The food component of it. So it's just to tweak, they are not interested in changing the narrative, changing the realities of people, but just to play around with things so that it brings them, at the end of that playing around, it makes them look good. So what is the point of reducing the component of the food in the basket? Because you know that the inflation is driven largely by the food. So if you go inside the basket and manipulate the food and reduce, the impact of the food component in that basket, the inflation will drop. Then you change the base here, and which is what the rebasing that everybody is talking about. And why was those rebasing done? It's not to change the realities of people's pockets. The realities in the people's pockets in terms of their purchasing power has not changed one bit. It hasn't changed one bit. But what has changed is the way the hallelujah boys, the way they portray the government. Oh, the inflation has come down. If you hear somebody, if you live in the United States or if you live in the UK or Canada, and you hear that inflation within a space of 1 year, this manipulation happened in 1 year. It didn't start from 2023. This manipulation started almost 1 year, from 30% to 19%. Where does inflation drop that rapidly? Nigerians don't ask questions. Where in the world will you drop inflation from 32% to almost 18% in 12, 13 months? It just tells you that the kind of person Bola Tinubu is.
Yeah, that's not.
Bola Tinubu is not interested in governance. What Bola Tinubu is interested in is politics.
I know, but
politics, give it to him. Governance and economy, zero. So it doesn't make any sense. Now you right. Well, it is only right that somebody can say, okay, right has dropped. Remember, right was being sold at 120,000 like a year and a half ago. It's now maybe 50-something thousand or 60,000. Why? There is importation. Am I supporting it? No, I'm not supporting it. Whatever you need to do to bring the price of rice, bring it down. But what is the opportunity cost? The opportunity cost that is that you have put farmers in Kalu, in KB, in a very bad place. We have a rice plant in Lagos that is run by Wakot, a conglomerate. Now, what is the point that somebody will stay in KB, grow rice? After growing it, his net cost per bag is more than what the rice is sold in the market. Because you did an importation and you brought down the rice to 55,000 or 60,000. What is the landing cost? What is the cost of a paddy or the cost to the farmers in Kebi, in Kanu, in Jigawa? What is the cost of rice? Not the selling price though. Their cost of production of rice in their own farms. You have no consideration for them. So people will bring out rice paddy in Kebbi. The rice paddy will just get wasted, or you go and sell below your cost price because the country has been opened up to importation. Yes, it doesn't concern somebody that is living in Lagos. There's an importation, rice is being sold 55,000. It's okay for somebody that is living in Lagos, somebody that is living in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and the city. It's okay for them because you can buy rice cheaper. But what of the man that is producing that rice? How have you changed his narrative? How have you affected the people that are doing farming? It means that they should abandon their farms because people in Lagos, people in Onitsha, and people in Port Harcourt want to get rice at 50,000. What of the people that their life is about rice farming? Did you consider them? How did you consider them in that whole process of wanting to bring the price of rice? It's okay. So that's the point. The point I'm trying to make is that this government is all about, for them, it's all about let's look good. Let the numbers show that we are doing well. But at the end of the day, the realities of people did not change. Apart from rice and maybe a few other food items, the prices of things, which is what Kalu is talking about, the prices of most other things have not changed. People that are living in Nigeria will tell you the prices of most other things, services, most other things that Nigeria are confronted with every day has not really changed. Apart from rice, or maybe rice, beans, and one other few items that that the government opened the borders for. So where is the inflation? How is inflation? Because what they are targeting is to bring this inflation down to almost 12%. Because once they bring it down to like 12% manipulatively, what it will now mean is that, okay, yes, the economy is experiencing a real growth. Because I read somewhere that once the inflation comes down to below 12%, then you can make a case that the economy is actually growing in the real terms of it. That is their target. And they will, within the next quarter, they will achieve it. Watch, this 18%, from 18% it will drop to 15%. Because it has been dropping 3% every quarter. 3% or more every quarter. In which country that inflation dropped 3 or 4% per quarter? I don't know for such country.
Okay.
It's only in Nigeria that it happens, and it's a big lie.
Okay, so
that's where I will rest my case.
I will say the biggest red flag on the inflation is that the Central Bank of Nigeria is not reducing the monetary policy rate. If inflation is falling, then the monetary policy rate should also fall. What I'm saying is this: why do you?
Hello, Kalu.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, the biggest red flag for the inflation is this: if the inflation is falling, then the monetary policy rate should also fall. Because what happens is when there's high inflation in the economy, the central bank would raise interest rates to fight inflation. So when inflation is going down, the central bank should also reduce the monetary policy rate, right? And if they reduce the monetary policy, so when they reduce the monetary policy rate, it will allow SMEs to borrow money cheaper. If you want to borrow money from a bank today, you're going to pay 25 to 30%. Nobody can borrow at that rate. So if inflation rate is down to 19, MPR should also come down. And that's how you reflate the economy. And that's the problem in the economy, that rates are just too high. SMEs can't borrow, so SMEs can't hire, and nobody can consume. That's the problem.
Yes, the rates are high. Yes, inflation is coming down by 3% every quarter.
Perfect. All right, let's get Afunwa 3, Okonkwo, Mr. Afunwa Okonkwo to speak. How long have we spent here? My co-host, Cyrus, they're asking to come back. Akuma, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm fine. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to get your thoughts on some of the few questions I would like to ask. So with respect to the things you said earlier regarding the 2024 budget that is currently still running, yeah?
Uh-huh.
And the 2025 budget is still running.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we are going into 2026.
Yeah.
And from Tinubu's antecedent and the way his teams works, it is highly unlikely to be able to get a good part of that job done. So, like, what do you think will be the long-term effect, looking, let's say, from now to the next 8 years, where this guy is carrying over budget from 2024 into 2025 into 2026? So by next year, in the space of 12 months, we'll be discussing 3 separate budgets. So, like, what would you say would be the long-term effect economically of?
You know what, Afam, you know what? I don't think Nigerians care if it's kind of a 25 budgets. Nigerians don't care. What Nigerians want is to actually do the work in the budgets. So if we had 100 budgets, but we are seeing roads, we are seeing rails, we are seeing incomes going up, people wouldn't care. The reason why we are focusing on, and I've just shared the slide. So in 2024, we had 3 budgets. 2025, we have 3 budgets. 2026, we're clearly going to have 3 or 4 budgets. It's because if you then look at the numbers, nothing is happening. Again, let me share the slide. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it better. I'm going to go back and share the slide on what has been released. I'm not sure you were here. In 2021, Buhari had a capital budget of 3.9 trillion. How much did Buhari release? Buhari released 3 trillion, nearly 100%. In 2022, we had a 6.2 trillion capital budget. How much did Buhari release? 7 trillion. Sorry, 2 trillion. But when you now just go to now 2024, let's go to the 2 years under Buhari, the 2 years under President Tinubu. We have a capital budget in 2023 of 7.9 trillion. How much was released? Only 3.6 trillion. Same thing in 2024. Capital budget of 13 trillion. How much was released? Only 6 trillion. That's the problem, that we are announcing huge budgets on the press, but the actual cash we are releasing is very, very little. And what makes it worse is this. When we release this $6 trillion cash, we borrow. So look at 2024. We announced a capital budget of 13 trillion. Based on that 13 trillion, we went and borrowed 12 trillion. But how much cash did we give to capital project? Only 6. So where's the other money? We borrowed 12. The budget was 13. Why are we only releasing 6? So your question is very, very direct. The long-term effects that we're going to have a huge amount of debt that any other president would have to keep on paying. In 2025, Nigeria cleared all our foreign debt. 2025, the bulk of the foreign debt was gone. Now we're back to having huge debt. If oil price goes to $30 a barrel, we're going to go into a debt trap. NNPC has sold crude oil into the future, collected money today, and is now spending money today. So if oil prices go down, NNPC is also in trouble. So where are you going to get your savior from? That's the answer to your question, Akufa, that we've borrowed a lot of money, and that money is going to create a debt trap for us down the road because we're not investing that borrowed money in infrastructure. 13 trillion budget, only 6 trillion released in 2024. 2023, 7 trillion budget, only 3 trillion released. So that's the answer to you. I'm not sure if you are satisfied with that.
Yeah, I'm very satisfied with that. Thank you for that clarification. And one last question, please, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, so the previous speakers and also you also spoke about how the government was trying to reduce the cost of food practically because the average Nigerian spends more than 50% of his household income on food by importing foodstuff. So my question to you is what or how, if the government could have taken the money they would have used to import and then, paid or bought from those that are producing those food items locally, what would have been the ripple effect of that? Instead of taking that money and going to maybe Malaysia or India or, Thailand to get those household food that is majorly consumed, what would have been the ripple effect of the government taking that money and buying from your own local people? Even though I would assume it will be a little bit more costly, but then wouldn't it have been better that they did that?
No, they're importing because there's no local produce. They are importing because there's no local produce. There's no where do you make rice in Nigeria? Abakaliki, Kebbi, and the north. What's happening in the north today? Insecurity. So local output has fallen. That's why we're importing rice. Didn't you see the ship that came with wheat? The US ship that came with wheat, massive ship came with wheat. Yeah. So that wheat is your Indomie, that's your agege bread and all that. We don't make wheat in Nigeria. We're making less than 2% of our total needs of wheat in Nigeria. So we have to import. When Jimmy Carter came to Nigeria in the 1970s, Nigeria wasn't eating that much bread or Indomie. Jimmy Carter came, they gave us wheat. Nigerians loved wheat. Now we eat biscuits, we eat bread, we eat Indomie. We are now wheat buyers. I think Nigeria is the top 3 importers of American wheat. So that's a big problem, that we're not growing our food. And the problem with Nigeria's food is not that we're not growing enough harvest. It's the post-production, the storage, the keeping it after the harvest season. That's where the problem really is in Nigeria. We don't have a value chain. Nigeria has no cold chain. None. Whole Nigeria, no cold chain, but we're buying jets and building coastal road. We have a cold chain. So that's in America, you see Donald Trump is giving farmers money that do soybeans. What's that money for? They will buy in America, they buy food, they dump it in the sea. They buy food from the farmers and they will dump it in the sea because they want to keep the farmers a subsidy so that the farmers can, it's their economy. Everybody does it. If they buy food from the farmers, the dumping. So you're going to ask, why don't they give it to Africa? They give it to Africa. That means you won't buy food from them again. So they want to make it buy from them so that they don't give it to you for free. But if the best way, like you said, Sai, was I've taken that money and bought the food locally, but there's no local food. There's no local food. So we have to import the food from Thailand, from China. There's a massive rice mill in Lagos, Immortal Rice Mill. I think it's the largest in Africa. Does it have rice paddy? It doesn't have rice paddy because rice paddy comes from the north. Anything largest in the world is Nigeria. Largest refinery is here. Largest rice refinery is here. We have, I think, one in Nasarawa. We have one in Lagos, but there's no rice paddy. Again, it's back to the project management I'm talking about. Nigeria can't do large projects. We can't do project management. We can't. We have the money, but we don't know how to look at an economy and say, this is all connected. Let's do this one first. Do you know why we can't do it? No, we can't do it because we have a 4-year mindset. We want to get through elections. So Tinubu is not a dumb person. Tinubu knows project management, but he's building that road. So the road is not, it's already commissioned in Lagos part of the road. It's commissioned. They did a commission for Lagos part, a Lagos to Calabar road, but you commissioned Lagos. It's like you have a league game, then Arsenal wins their first game, then Arsenal gives themselves a cup that they've won their first game in a league that is still ongoing. But why is he doing it? Because of politics, elections. He has to show work done. But when you go to China, because they have a 10-year plan and there's no elections for 10 years, they can take their time and build out a road, build out a port, build belt and link, or what they call it, because they know they're going to be there for the next 10 years. What's happening to America is something to Nigeria. We don't agree. It's politics. So American infrastructure is horrible because once you start doing anything, somebody will come and win elections, cancel everything. Trump has canceled Biden's infrastructure projects, green energy projects. He's canceled it. That's what's happening in Nigeria. Everybody's 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. Nobody wants to do a 16-year project because when Goodluck did railway from Abuja to Kaduna, APC said they did it. So nobody wants to do any railway or any road that they will not commission in their tenure. I'm just being real. It's a big problem. But if we're able to sit down and say, whether you are in APC, you are in Labour, you are in PDP, you are in Accord, whatever party you are in, APGA, we all want roads and rails. Okay, let's have a 10-year or 25-year plan that will say we're going to build this road, and whoever is in office must build that road. That's what we need in Nigeria. Have the plan, have everybody sign off. This coastal road, for instance, Tinubu can say, okay, everybody should come in, and we're going to commit, and we're going to fund this road. But because there's so much opaqueness about this road, where is the money coming from? It's being built by a company that is owned in part by associates of the president. Look at this week. We just heard they're going to invest $130 million in building a Bank of Industry headquarters in Echo Atlantic. Is that an important project? No. They have a BOI project in Abuja, 2 towers in Abuja. They happen in Lagos. Why are you taking scarce money to invest in a new BOI head office in Atlanta? What is the need for that? No need. That money could have even gone even to the coastal road self. No, but they want to build a new BOI. That's the point. Maladministration, not mal administration. There's a big problem in Nigeria. Baba Aduke, how you doing? Welcome to the party, sir. Guys, we got about 20 minutes to go. That will call today. About 20 minutes to go. Baba, how you doing? What's up?
Hi, Kalu. I'm good.
What's up,
interesting conversation. I can tell Nigerians are always very passionate, and as much as we try to keep the conversation on, economics and everything, it keeps diving into politics and everything. I understand it's frustrating. And when I make comments, I try to be as apolitical as possible, right? I'm hearing a lot of what people are saying, and I'm learning a lot. What I want to contribute is that I think one of the things we don't fully appreciate about the Nigerian economy is how difficult a position we've been in. And whether we like the current administration or not, I'm not speaking for the current administration. I'm just saying whether we like it or not, they're in a very difficult position. Because Nigeria is very under-leveraged. And what that means is that we do not have, there's very low trust in our institutions. Our capital markets are very shallow. And what that means is that we can't borrow, or we have to rely on cash at hand. So it's like somebody living in North America. I know you live in the US, Kalu. So it's like living in the US without a credit card. And you have to depend on every single cash that comes your way to do everything you want to do. It can be difficult, right? Nigeria can't borrow money cheaply. It's very, very expensive. Of course, that's why we are turning to the East. We are looking at China and all of that. And so it's almost impossible to get anything done if that is the state
but I don't think that's correct. Nigeria is actually borrowing a lot of money. We are borrowing a lot of money from China, a whole lot from China. China is building all the airports that we were building. China gave us the money, $500 million. The Lagos, Enugu, Kano. China also built most of the railways, the infrastructure, the telecom. Why did China stop giving Nigeria loans? Because Nigeria went to China to build a pipeline and we inflated the cost. They got angry and they kicked us out. That's what happened. The railways were built by China, right? But they got angry with the cost. So we did it ourselves. And again, if you look at this, I'm sharing this slide on YouTube, and also I've said this slide again. We've been borrowing ever since 2020. I see the amount of money that Tinubu has borrowed in 2024, right, is more than if you combine the 2022, 2021, and 2020 borrowing combined 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about the same. So we're borrowing a lot. It's costly, but we're borrowing a lot. Again, there is nothing wrong with borrowing. But where is the money going to, Aduke? I mean, if you've been on the space, I've shared where the money is going to. Where is the money going to? The money is not going to CapEx. The money is going to recurrent expenditures and debt servicing, not debt payoff.
And so you said it, Kalu, but you said it yourself now that the money we are borrowing is expensive. So of course the money is going to go back into servicing the debt.
Why is it expensive? Why is it expensive?
Because our capital markets are not deep and nobody trusts our institutions.
No, it's expensive because the macroeconomic variables have been run aground. Rwanda is also expensive, but they have a better macro. It's like with this, we created a bad house. Then we want people to give us good carpeting for the house. We created the macroeconomic conditions that made us not to borrow cheaper. Let me give you a clear example, sir. If Tinubu's administration, right, and again, when I mean Tinubu, I don't want to go attacking the guy. If in 2024, Tinubu basically said we're going to freeze spending, like how Americans were going to freeze spending in 2024 at the same level of 2023, Nigeria will not have any deficit today. None. Zero.
For political reasons, again, I am not a Tinubu.
I hear you. I hear you, and that's the point.
But politically that won't happen.
But so I hear exactly. So we are the ones spending. So we can't. When you have a deficit, your costs go up. If we froze spending at 2023 levels, then the total income, because in 2023 the spending was 23 trillion.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube. 2023 spending was 23 trillion. In 2024 we got income of 20 trillion. So a deficit of just maybe 3 trillion. Do you know how much you spent in 2024? Do you know how much you spent? 34 trillion. So when Tinubu took out from Buhari was giving him only 7 trillion in revenues. Only 7 trillion. Mr. Tinubu took that revenue from 7 to 12. But Buhari also gave Tinubu a borrowing level of 6.9 trillion. Tinubu took that 6 trillion borrowing to 23 trillion.
You don't think that's because of so isn't it just because the currency got devalued?
But he got revenues. The devaluation was a revenue. If you look at the FARC receipts, there's a line there for Naira revaluation income. It's a income to FARC. When Tinubu devalued the Naira, he got income, not a cost.
Not a cost.
Pick up any FARC went from 2023. Pick up any FARC. You will see there revaluation surplus. It's right there. Again, he got money from fuel subsidy removal. So the case where I'm focused on Mr. Tinubu is this: he got money from the removal of subsidy. He got money from devaluation of Naira. Then he's borrowing more and he's spending more. So all he had to do was to remove subsidy and spend more, right? But then he's borrowing more. It's that borrowing that is the problem, because he already has the revenue. Remember, let's go to 2022. What did Buhari give Tinubu? Buhari gave Tinubu 7.7 trillion revenue. 7.7 trillion revenue. In 2024, Tinubu has taken 7 trillion revenues to 20 trillion revenues. 7 to 20 revenue. What spending did Buhari give Tinubu? 6.9 trillion. 6.9 trillion 2022. What is Tinubu spending today? 34 trillion. 34. Why is he spending so much? Because he has lots of boondoggle projects he's doing. He had no business doing he should have done Coastal Road. He should have done. So what should have done Coastal Road? He should have done the Lagos Coastal Road from Lagos to border of Lagos. Call it quits. And so this is what we're doing. We're going to make, because Lagos is the commercial capital, we need a new road to open up the access to link to the port. Do it there. It will have cost him half the amount. There is no point to deceive now. See, when I say these things, people say I'm being mean. That road cannot go from Lagos to Calabar without having a world-class construction company and at the minimum 5 billion United States dollars. You are building bridges. This is not Kota. You can't pour concrete on iron rod. You are building a bridge from Lagos border to Calabar bridge. That's why East-West Road has not been done. There's an existing East-West Road, sir. It's abandoned. Then Tinubu now goes and says, I'm going to build a new one. Trust me. We all know. So, but when you point this out, people say, go back to Anambra. So the problem with Mr. Tinubu is not that he's making record revenues. He was giving 7 trillion in 2022. He's now making 20 trillion. The problem is that he's also spending and he's also borrowing. Buhari gave him 6 trillion spending. He's spending 34, 6 to 34. Buhari gave him 7 trillion debt. He's borrowing at 12. And again, we have no numbers for 2025 at the coup. None. Wahala day.
I hear you. Do we have a quick question? Do we have an official, do we know the official justification for the coastal road?
It is on a project basis, it makes sense because that's going to be the place where you have less development. So you can then link the west to the east oil goods coming along, and then you link it also to real. So it makes perfect sense on an economic level. The problem is that better soup now money kill them. We don't have the money for it.
We don't have the money to do
what we should have done is what they said. Tinubu said the road is going to be built on a PPP level. If we do it on a PPP level, it makes sense. So go to the states and tell the state, this is your portion. I'll build it. How are we going to get the money? You can borrow money, we'll give you sovereign guarantee, or you can keep your revenues, or look for a way for the states to attract investors. So Anambra will build its own. Edo will build its own. Build it all with a sovereign federal guarantee with foreign partners. If you bring China to that road, they can do it for you, pay them in oil or pay them in cassava. Listen, China wanted $1 billion worth of cassava from Nigeria. Nigeria couldn't supply cassava. They want not just oil, they want cassava, they want sorghum, they want soybeans. Tell China, we're going to give you, I'll get into trouble, we're going to give you half of Niger State to farm and take. In return, build us the road from Lagos to Calabar. Chad went to Angola, and they paid Angola with, They paid Angola with cattle. I think Angola gave them oil. They gave Angola cattle and got oil from Angola. So it's not, you can go, China wants food. We have Niger State, lots of land in Niger State, lots of land in all this. China, we're going to give you 100 million hectares. Farm it, export the goods duty free. In return, build us a road from Lagos to Calabar. But Nigerian government has no money for that road. They borrowed money from Deutsche Bank as their counterpart funding. Mr. Chaguri is supposed to bring that money. Do you think Mr. Chaguri has the money to build an express route from Lagos to Calabar? Does anybody believe Mr. Chaguri, if he had that money, will invest that money to build from Lagos to Calabar? Is anybody here making that argument that Chaguri would do that? He loves Nigeria as a Nigerian, but he would do that? Why? He would guarantee. So facts are not emotional. I posted on Twitter, it will stop in Lagos. People are just saying they want to bet with me. Let's be watching. Lagos,
yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. I think the conclusion from what I'm hearing you say, the conclusion is that we are making more money, we are making more revenue, we are borrowing a lot more. However, the money we are borrowing, we don't know what it is being used for.
It's being used for debt servicing and expenditure. I posted it there on Twitter. It's being used to service the debt. If you're on YouTube, you can see it right now. It's being used to service the debt. It's right here to service the debt. And also to pay for salaries. It's right there. We know where I'm asking a question rhetorically. I know where the money is going to. Money is not being stolen. See, Mr. Tinubu's issue is this. He has to cut down on his ambitious project. Like it or not, guys, sorry, I entered trouble. Sorry. We do not need, nor can we afford, a supersonic highway from Sokoto to Badagry. We can't afford it. We also
isn't infrastructure the only building infrastructure?
We can't afford it.
Building infrastructure, Kalu.
Ola, I want a Rolls Royce. I want a Rolls Royce, Ola.
But if that Rolls Royce is going to be used for Uber,
but I want a Rolls Royce. No, I want a Rolls Royce. I want you to answer me. I want a Rolls Royce. Answer me. I want a Rolls Royce. Answer me. Answer me now.
You can't afford the Rolls Royce.
Why? Are you as Chief Subdaya will say, are you there's no problem.
You're saying that the coastal road, you are just hammering on the coastal road. Like you said, it stops at Lagos State, stops at Lagos.
I didn't say it stops at Lagos State.
We are talking today.
I didn't say. Ola, this is not a space for this. So, Ola, all this one you are talking is, if I meet him now, you say, let me let him talk. I'll let him talk.
Everywhere. These projects, did you think it's schools that are building them? They employ people, they pay them. These people go back home to spend money in the society and keep boosting the economy to feed their families, to pay school fees. And we are hammering on this coastal road. We would rather want them to borrow money and just embezzle the money like the last PDP 16 years have been doing. And you keep going back and forth about the coastal road, like we can't see what is being done.
Like it's not Nigerians living on this coastal stretch that we're talking about. Or like we are bidding coastal in a foreign country.
Okay. So
when Buhari was in power, sorry to cut you, when Buhari was in power, he made it mandatory that they should build a railway or whatever to Niger. Nobody in the north complained about it. Nobody said anything about it. They didn't stand up there and complain about it. Now they've done it.
Let him talk. Let him
talk. We are all
talk.
going to pay for it.
Ola is talking. So Ola, fantastic. I added you. I let you speak. I don't interrupt on my space. I do a very. I want to people here join here to learn. Let me tell you the coastal road, and I was very clear. You just joined now. The coastal road.
I've been sorry to cut you, Kalu. I've been here from the start, so yes.
I apologize. And I said again, you remember I said the coastal road in terms of economics. I said it here will double or triple the GDP of Nigeria. I said it here. I said on an economic level that there is no problem with the road. The problem is this. I'm even emphasizing this point to you. We cannot afford it. Number one. Number two, there's an existing east to west road abandoned. There's an existing east to west railway abandoned. Now we're doing a brand new road. It has stopped at the border. Ogun is still land. Once it crosses the Ogun place that has swamps, then what? Then what? Will you lay the concrete on the road as we're doing in Lagos State? Is that what you would do? If you are entering Lagos from Ogun State, there's a long bridge. You enter Ogun State Lagos Bridge. That's what we're going to build from that to Calabar. Bridges. That's why the Eastern has not been built, Ola. This is not argument. Don't make it. I'm not arguing. I'm not saying the road is. I'm saying you can't afford it. I've given you numbers.
Yeah, can I speak?
I've given you numbers, Ola. I've given you numbers. Let's go back to your release, your capital release form. I gave you numbers. 2024, you are portioned 13 trillion for capex. You only released 6 trillion. Where's your money, Ola? Tell me.
Kalu, we can go back and forth. Let's stop this back and forth, please. You just said something yourself now. Let's assume that road stops at Ogun State border. This Ogun State border, before that road gets to Ogun State border, you have Dangote refinery. You have the Lekki DC port, right? You have all that development in that axis. Is that not a plus for us, even if that road stops at Ogun State border with our own money?
But that's the point I just said now. I said he should have simply made that road a Lagos road to link up the Dangote refineries to the port, to Badagry, to Lekki. I said it now. So that there will be no issue. I just said it now.
Someone else can come in another dispensation.
But Ola, you are agreeing with me. You are agreeing with me. That's what I said.
Why are you saying like you're forcing it that you use our money to do coastal road?
Ola, it's recorded now. We can play the recording back. I said it right now that what Mr. Tinubu should have done was to have built a Lagos coastal road. I said it here on this space. And I said the issue that if you want to build to Calabar, you can't afford it. That's why I said Mr. Chagori will not bring out money to build the road to Calabar. I said it here, sir.
Sorry to cut in for the last time, so that I can just let the thing continue. I think what I will do personally is reach out to a few people I know within government. If anybody else has contacts within government, I'm sure they have at least a plan that has been documented and articulated.
What plan?
How do they plan to build this coastal road? Let's hear from them. Let's see
what are you saying. It's already out. They've given us a plan already now. So these numbers are from them. The coastal is a PPP project. It's PPP. Yeah. Federal government would give Chagori a bit of the money. Mr. Chagori will now get the other monies and build the road. The point I'm making, federal government has gotten money from Deutsche Bank. Bank. Ola is making a point as if I'm saying the road has no economic impact. Every meter you build of that road adds something to your GDP. Every meter of that road.
Great.
The point we are making is that when you say it's a coastal road, you are quote unquote giving people false hope that road is going to get to Edo. Edo government is already celebrating that the road is coming to Edo.
Yeah, but they've started the Calabar.
It's not going anywhere. Ola, you are trying to.
The Calabar section.
Started what? In Calabar land. It's a coastal road. Did they start at the coast?
They started the Calabar section. It's even paved some kilometers.
How many meters in Calabar? How many meters?
You're not saying it's not like they will not get to Calabar, but they started from that section.
Ola, you know what I'm saying. You can scream all you want. It's a very, very clean space.
Don't come here, Kalu. This is your space. I agree. I respect that. But don't come here and be making it look like that Coastal Road is the whole that is the two-man down of Nigeria. Because this what this president have done.
Ola.
They started from the Calabar section. People were complaining that the Calabar section, why did they start from Lagos station?
Ola.
They should start from Calabar section.
Ola, you know, Ola, I know.
You said there, Kalu.
Should I mute you? Should I mute you? Should I mute you? Do you want me to mute you? Should I mute you? Should I mute you?
I'll mute myself. That's fine.
Fantastic. I picked on the Coastal Road because it is, and I said from space, is the largest single project in the history of Nigeria. That's why I'm picking on it. It's the largest single infrastructure project in the history.
The reason why you're picking on it, Kanu, is plain and simple. It's because of their...
And if you speak again, I remove you. Oga, I've let you to speak now. Come on, you are being disruptive. Anybody can speak. I allowed you to speak, sir. Please don't be disruptive. I know where you are going. You are going to say, I'm picking on Coastal Road because I am not from illegal state. I'm attacking APC. That is baseline primordial returns. You know it. If I want to attack Coastal Road, I'll attack Coastal Road. It took me how many months to get this research? 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. Buhari's government, Tinubu's government. I can go back to Goodluck government. I have all the numbers. I did this research. I did this research to come and talk about Coastal Road. I didn't. People are on the space. They are learning. They are listening. You can make whatever comment you want to make. The facts are the facts. The fact I am laying out as follows. We are apportioning large amount of money for capital projects. We are not giving those capital project funds, but we are borrowing. The Lagos Coastal Road cannot be funded on the budget of the federal government of Nigeria. We have no money for it. Calabar Road has started, right? You say it started. Where is it started from? Is it on the? Where is it going to go from Calabar to join this road? Like I said, Arsenal has played 2 games. You give them a cup because they played 2 games. Let's watch. I remember when I started talking about. Let's not go there. Let's get. We're all here together in Nigeria. Numbers don't lie. These are your federal government numbers. Numbers don't lie. As at today, the federal government of Nigeria has asked all agencies to take 70% of the capital budget from 2025 to 2026. And someone is here saying that they're building Calabar Road. Okay. The same federal government you are defending is saying that they do not have money to execute their own 2025 budget. The federal government you are defending, not me. Federal government said they don't have money, move 70% to 2026. They did, not I. Let's get Mr. George. George, how you doing? George, is George available? Guys, we'll spend 3 hours here. We should call it a day.
I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
After George, we'll go with Oluwaseun. After Oluwaseun, we'll go. I called him before. It's Isiaka MO. Let's do George and Oluwaseun, Isiaka, and then Farrell, my friend, that's trying to speak. Oluwaseun, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll mute myself.
Okay, yeah.
Sure. Can I go now, Kalu?
No, George first, then you, Oluwaseun. George was first, yeah. George, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. I have to confess, I've learned a lot on this space.
Data, George, data. We're doing data. So nobody can argue with it. This space, George, sorry to interrupt you. This space, I wanted to do it a few months ago. And I said, if I say it, they're going to say that the numbers are wrong. You notice no one has come to say numbers are wrong. No one has come to say that my numbers are wrong. What they're saying that I'm picking on the state. I'm picking on this project. But the numbers are there. The numbers are from the federal government. Let me tell you, I have the 2025 numbers. I won't post it because if I post it, they'll tell me, where's your source? They will hold me on that. So I left it blank. Please go ahead.
The truth is that directly or indirectly, I think we're all in the same arena. So we are all even if most of us are not based in Nigeria. But then we have people here, and we're still feeling the impact one way or the other. But the real thing I would like to find out is, directly or indirectly, what role are we, the individuals living in the country, playing to aid this government in bamboozling our lifestyle? Do we have a choice? Is there something we can do
of course.
about it?
George, when you put ask this question, you know the answer, but you don't want me to say it. You know the answer, George, but you don't want me to say it. But you know the answer.
Honestly speaking, if you have actually lived in this country and you have the answer, that's a special thing. It's a very, very special thing, because I like very intellectual discussions. And I'm someone that I know that if your cup is full, you cannot gain again from it. So I'm open to knowledge.
Yeah. So you are asking what we will do.
It's completely as stands even Harvard professors.
No, it's not.
People that come from all over the world.
I don't think so, sir. So honestly speaking, sir, Nigeria has a very, very simple problem. But I think it's because we know what to do, but we defend the government from doing it. Let me give you a good story, sir, to explain what I'm saying. When the president removed fuel subsidy, do you know how much they plan to give every Nigerian as palliative for removing fuel subsidy? Do you know how much they want to give every Nigerian? 8,000 naira. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. 8. That was the plan, to give every Nigerian 8K. Why didn't they do it? Because the outcry was so much. People were saying that they were suffering so much that Tinubu himself came out and said in August that there's going to be no more taxes, no more tax increase. Tinubu came out. They started to buy rice, to share rice. They started to talk about CNG buses. Why? Because Nigerians started to scream that this is too much for us. We can't take it. So the government had to listen. When you have a space like this, look at this space I've set up, right? I've asked the question, where's the money? I have showed the government is earning money, but it's borrowing, and it's not borrowing for capex. The response should be that citizens will go back and say, Kalu said this. Is he right? He's quoting federal government numbers. Okay, let's go and hold our local house member or senator to account. Say, hey, Kalu said the government cannot fund Coastal Road, that we should have funded this road, and then get them to push back to Mr. President and say, Mr. President, we need to do more of stomach infrastructure. But the response is, what do you see here? Oh, Calabar Road, argument, fight. Blah, blah, blah. So because we defend the guys that spend our tax money, nothing will change. If everyone's told the president that, listen, Mr. President, the road is good, but we're hungry, he will listen. He's a politician. He will listen. But people tell him that, say, you're doing a good job. You're doing a fantastic job. Don't worry about everybody. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Then, of course, you think he's doing a good job. He doesn't know what's happening. No president knows what's happening.
To be honest with you, sorry for interrupting, but to be very honest with you, I don't really see what exactly he has done. Yes, it says that the increased amount of oil that is being explored in Nigeria has been increased. I
think he has stabilized the economy. I think he has stabilized the ship.
The governor of Central Bank just recently, it has been found out that he has been defending the naira.
No, but even if
$7 trillion.
Every government defends its currency. Every government. So even if they defend the naira, he has stabilized the economy. He needs to now go from stabilization to growth. Nigeria, let me give you, Nigeria has zero consumption. Zero. We have negative. I'm quoting Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Negative consumption. That means people like Nigeria are not spending money to consume. They are surviving. When's the last time we saw Nigerian buy a brand new car or brand new AC or brand new carpet? When's the last time? So they're not consuming. If you don't consume, you can't have industry. That's why companies are leaving Nigeria. They're not consuming. And that's to be the first thing we should do. We should go into the country and refinance the economy so the economy starts to do consumption. When Americans had COVID, what they do, they gave everybody money through COVID checks. Why? They want you to go and spend. Consumption is their economy. If you don't consume, the economy dies. There is no COVID money the Nigerians have gotten. We've removed your subsidy.
He hasn't done anything.
He hasn't reflated the economy. That's the point I'm making. that's the point I'm making. He's not spending money. He's not spending money where it matters. George, that's the point I'm making. That I can push back. He's not spending money where it would have an impact. The people are suffering, but he's building projects. Yes, when you build a road, people get work, but you've got to make 1 + 1 = 11. You've got to go for the largest impact, where if you spend money, it has a larger impact. I want him to borrow 1 trillion and spend, but borrow that 1 trillion and spend it. But according to numbers we are showing, they are borrowing, but they're not spending it on infrastructure. They are not. They are taking the money somewhere else. Look at this chart on you. You guys on YouTube can see it. On this chart, in 2024, we had income of 20 trillion. Recurrent was 8 trillion. Capex 11, but we borrowed for debt servicing 12. Out of 20, 12 went to debt servicing. Out of 20, 12. Why are we borrowing? Because we're borrowing. So why are we borrowing? Because we're spending. So if he simply stops the spending as a 2023 level, he won't borrow. If Mr. Tinubu did not borrow in 2024, he would have 12 trillion left over. With 12 trillion, he can build his Lagos Coastal Road. That's what Ola is not getting. I'm helping him since I'm attacking him. Mr. Tinubu has no money today because he's spending too much. He's making the revenue, but he's spending too much, not on infrastructure, debt servicing, and recurrent. It's there. George, don't worry, we'll pray. It will work for us. Right? Oluwaseun, how you doing, sir? Oluwaseun, hop right in.
Yeah, thank you, Kalu. Thank you, everyone. Good evening to everyone. It's actually been a very impactful conversation so far. So, but Kalu, one thing for me, numbers don't lie and realities also don't lie. So, whether people think the current government is doing a lot or whether they don't, the reality stands, because we have a government where the economy is actually growing by 3.9%. And population growth is actually growing by, let's say, it's around 2%. If we've actually factored both, we have, let's say, 1% economic growth. But the reverse is the case as to what the government is actually rolling out to ignorant citizens. That's number one. Then number two, Kalu, I have a question. So what does the president or those in charge of budgeting, what do they think when they actually fix or peg the dollar to a certain amount? And I'll give an instance to actually elaborate on this question. So for 2025 budget, it was actually pegged at $75 per barrel at 2.03 or 2.07 million barrel per day, at $75 rather. So now Trump came in and started saying he actually wanted to lower energy costs. So was there research as to why Tinubu and Akpabio actually pegged the budget at $75 and also at 2.07 million barrel per day? So that's actually my question. And also, I believe those rolling out economic news or information from the side of the government, they're actually filled with ignorant people, and they're actually just dishing out
I don't think
lies, fabricated lies out to Nigerians.
They're actually very, very smart people in government. They're all very, very smart. I think they're just trying to make their principal look good. But to your question, how do they get to those assumptions? I think they look at it depends on it. Look at the problem in Nigeria, right? There's something called the benchmark price. And that was introduced by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Before the benchmark pricing came to Nigeria, if you make money from crude oil, you put it in your budget, then you spend. So what happens is that because crude oil goes up and down, if crude oil crashes during your budget cycle, then you are in big trouble because you've already apportioned that I'm going to spend money and there's no more money to spend. So Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala came and said, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to take the oil price directly into the budget. We're going to sterilize it. If oil price is $100 a barrel, we're going to say our own oil price is going to be 80 or 70, and that's all we can spend. So when we have the record price at maybe $100 a barrel and benchmark price is 75, we only budget on 75 revenues. The rest goes to the excess crude account. So because of this 75 barrels a day, if you not, then what happens is even if oil goes back to 110 or 120, you can only spend on the 75. So most administrations that follow what Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala did end up borrowing less because they spend less. They spend less because they are working with the benchmark oil price. So even though you spend less, it protects you that when oil prices fall, because you have not spent based on $100 a barrel, you are protected. I challenge everyone. Ola was speaking. Go back and read President Tinubu's Hope Agenda Economic Forecast. Go back and read it. In that Hope Agenda, President Tinubu said he's going to decouple, his words, he's going to decouple oil prices from the benchmark. What he meant was that he will spend based on revenues he has gotten. He won't look at benchmark. It's in his Hope Agenda. If anybody can get it, I will do it after the space. Hope, his economic plan, you see there, budgeting process, we are going to decouple the benchmark price, and it's there. So what has happened is that he has now been spending not according to any benchmark, but according to all revenues he can get. So if you look at, again, the figures I keep on sharing again, in 2024, Mr. Tinubu has borrowed more than he got in revenues in 2023. Say it again. In 2024, President Tinubu borrowed more than the total revenues he got in 2023. Crazy. What Tinubu has spent in 2024, if you add 2020, 2021, and 2022 combined, it's not up to what he has spent in just one fiscal year. 3 years. Tinubu has spent more than 3 years combined. So it's unsustainable because he has removed that idea that you have to put a benchmark pricing to control your spending. The benchmark price today is $75 a barrel. So all this borrowing we're doing in 2025 is based on oil being $75 a barrel. But oil today is at $65 a barrel. Okay, have we now slowed down the spending because oil has gone from 75 to 65? No. We are building a new coastal road and a road from Sokoto to Badagry. That's the point I'm making. Tinubu has gotten record revenues. Buhari gave Tinubu 7.7 trillion in 2022. Tinubu is now raising, according to revenues, 20 trillion in 2024. 20 trillion. But he's spending 34 trillion. Buhari was spending 6 trillion. Tinubu is spending 34 trillion. Buhari spent 6 trillion. Tinubu is borrowing 12 trillion. Buhari borrowed 7. That's the problem. If your revenues are falling, be careful about building new buildings. If you call any CEO or any household guy here and you say, hey, you have $100 about $109 in your wallet, it's going to keep on going down from 80, 40, 60. Would you build a new project? Will you buy a new car? They'll tell you, no, I'm going to wait till I get better revenues. Because of Nigeria, we are building a coastal road while revenues are falling. And we're borrowing more to do the construction. That's what I'm pointing out. It's not my figures. I'm a finance guy. I'm sorry. I see numbers. I point it out. If you don't like it, do something about it. Ula, should I answer your question?
Yeah, then why do these guys actually also report economic growth in the wrong manner? Like I mentioned earlier, economic growth 3.9%, population growth 2.03%. So why don't they also always factor the difference then just to reveal the reality of the growth? And in the real sense, there is no growth, honestly.
In all honesty, to be fair to them, this is how all governments have reported it. You report GDP growth, you report GDP per capita. I don't think we've done the GDP by population, which is what you are going to. It's the GDP per capita that we report. So what if you notice what they always post on Twitter is GDP has grown. They don't post GDP per capita. If you talk about GDP per capita here, people will start crying. If I tell about GDP per capita in Nigeria, people will start crying on this space. The GDP per capita in Nigeria, we're back to where we were in 1980 or so. We've regressed because our GDP has gone down, our population has gone up. So we're in serious trouble. That's why if you look at Nigeria as a case study, it doesn't make an investment case. You see, you have 200 million people population. Out of that 200 million people, less than 5% have 500,000 naira in their bank account. Out of that 200 million people, less than 5% have 500,000 naira in their bank account. You see first class travel, it's the same people traveling abroad over and over and over again. 30 December, they'll tell you that the revenue was made, it was 200 billion something revenues. It's all happening in Lagos, happening in Abuja, Port Harcourt. The same people are going to the clubs, buying champagne, the same people popping it, and you see the numbers go up. The baseline middle class, lower pyramid are not spending in Nigeria. They are not spending. So it's not just, it didn't start with this administration. There is no consumption. Again, I was in Nigeria, man. I didn't go to the banks. I went to Mile 12 Market. I shared the video. I went to Mile 12. I went to sit, and I sat the whole day with traders. I sat to the butcher. I sat next to him, a butcher. He was telling me that in the past, they would contribute money, buy a cow, kill the cow, and that from that cow, you can make 100,000 from that cow. So 4 people will come together, buy one cow, butcher it, sell the meat. He makes 100,000. He was drinking, he was telling me he drinks Guinness. So when he's selling his cows, he's drinking Guinness. He told me this year, that was 2 years ago, that was 2023, right? 2024, yeah, 2024. February 2024, I was in Nigeria. He told me that right now, there is no way, they still buy the cow, but there's no way they make profit. So they buy the cow, when they chop the cow up and sell, they don't make money. But he just makes money to pay his debt. So he buys this cow today, chops it off, and pays the debt he's owing on the last cow he sold. And then like that, he's not making any money. But if he doesn't buy the cow, he won't eat. So his debt has gone up. Nobody's buying cow. I was there. I showed the video on Twitter. After I bought him stout, he has now moved from Guinness stout to palm wine. He doesn't take Guinness stout anymore. So that's why Guinness had to sell in Nigeria. Guinness had to sell. Because more people like that butcher are no longer drinking Guinness stout, they're drinking palm wine, or drinking palm wine, not Guinness stout anymore. This is reality. You see people, the woman I saw there, just retired from the federal service, took her pension, she's buying okra, she buy okra, the bag of okra for 15,000 naira, then cut the bag of okra into nylon bag and sell them, and from that 15K, she makes 17,000 naira. That's how she's surviving in Nigeria. Okada drivers, gatesmen. I saw a gatesman getting a very, very high brow. It's earning 35,000 a month. 35,000 naira a month. He's a security guard. How do you spend your money? He spends 1,500 on food. Some days he doesn't eat. Security man. He doesn't eat some days. He's guarding people that are doing 30 December. So I have all these videos. So I have them. If you want, I have the videos. This is the real economy of Nigeria, not 30 December. And the country is not spending. The country is not reflating. You now want to go and spend trillions on roads. That money should have gone to reflate. What does reflate the economy mean? You give these traders, you give them money. So people come and buy from them. So if you increase people's minimum wage, more people will buy meat. I was sitting down there, people will come, okay, how much for meat? They will touch me, they'll walk away. Only one or two sales. Nobody has money. 2024, before they remove subsidy. You get all this stuff. So, and I am a quote unquote, I know numbers or I know finance. That's why I went to see how the economy was operating. When I go back to Nigeria this year, I'm going to go back to the same market. There's a guy there selling crayfish in that market, selling crayfish. He told me how they eat food. They buy rice, then they crayfish oil is the stew. They can't afford meat. He's selling rice and so he's eating from his own stock because they can't afford to buy food. So he buys the rice to sell. I mean, you can go on and on and on. And then in this same economy, people tell you that we're going to do AI, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're not going to the basis of the economy. We're not really going down to say, listen, people are suffering. People can't feed. New York Times wrote an article in Nigeria, so 2022, 2023, that there was calcium deficiency in Nigeria. Why? People are not drinking milk. New York Times. People are not drinking milk. They don't have calcium. We only get calcium from meat, milk. Is a rare disease in Nigeria. Pull it up. The article is still there. New York Times. Pull it up. It's there. Kids are doing gambling to make money. Nobody's investing. Every day is one new whatever. So we've got to calm down. You see, online, people are always defending the government. If you say anything bad about this space, watch out Monday. They will bring this space. They will chop it up. Bring this space. The numbers here are not lying. How can you spend 34 trillion in a year and people cannot afford milk? 34 trillion in 2024 was spent. In 2020, we spent 6 trillion. 2024, you are spending 34 trillion. And people are hungry. And you are arguing, want to build Coastal Road. Will we eat Coastal Road? All right, let's get Osasu. Oluwaseun, thanks. Osasu, how are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Kalu. How are you?
Fine, sir. So you're trying to get into CAF. Is that what I'm hearing? You're trying to get into CAF? Yeah?
For what? No. Why?
For football?
No. I served in FIFA before.
Mm-hmm.
I've served the NFF before. I've served the NOC before. So why will I not really look? You see, you're talking about economics now. We're talking about the budget. You're talking about economics, about the consequences of spending money that you don't have. You see, all these conversations that we're having or you are having, at the end of the day, politics will always determine our economic policy, the level of discipline. Somebody.
Yeah, it's Farao. I muted him. Frawa Moody. I muted him. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. The politics, the ethics, and the financial prudence of our president, of our finance minister, of our state commissioners for finance, these things determine everything in our economy. And I don't know how we are going to see Nigeria get to any semblance of financial sanity when the gatekeepers are so reckless in their behavior. We don't even see them understanding that the country has a diminishing income and we don't have the means to pay our debts. They have decided to postpone the payments of our debts for other presidents to pay. So you can imagine what other presidents and leaders coming in the next 15 years, what they are going to endure. Because all these debts are waiting for them.
Waiting. It's not going anywhere.
It's waiting for all of them. Okay, if you are borrowing, for God's sake, borrow for things that will generate economic activity, that will generate profits, that will, as you said, inflate the economy so that these loans actually help to solve our problems. But if you are borrowing money for recurrent expenditure, we are just on a hiding to nothing. And I don't know what to say about these things anymore. I mean, I don't even know. You guys tell me, with the way the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics has been over the last 1 year, Where do we even get accurate statistics for our economy?
Yeah, I think the only saving is that the numbers for the budget are like actuals, not so that way we can. I don't do budgets anymore, just the implementation. This is an actual, so we can actually go back and see what they've done. But the numbers don't tell a pretty story. I can give you a synopsis of what's going to happen in 2015, 2025. We're going to see record revenues. We're going to see record spendings. We're going to see record debt. This is the problem, Mr. Sazu. This is the problem. There's nothing wrong in record revenues. Everybody wants it. There's also nothing wrong in record debt. Debt can be used to grow the economy, to invest in infrastructure.
But that's the point.
The spending is the spending, sir. The spending. The spending.
That the majority of the money they borrow is not for investments or for things that can help the economy. It is to pay salaries for people.
Salaries is good. Salaries is good. If they pay salaries, is good. There's nothing wrong in paying salaries with borrow money, honestly speaking, but it reflects an economy. If you borrow money and pay salary in a state that has no industry, you are reflecting that state. But is that what they are doing? That's the problem. If they were borrowing and they were paying workers, have they paid local contractors? Is that not salary? Local contractors, have they paid them? They're in Abuja.
Yeah, them for years.
So that's the point I'm making. If they were paying them, sir, then those contractors would then take their money and spend in the economy. So you've reflected the economy, but they're not paying them. A few weeks ago, they just paid in the power sector, the tariff difference. They just paid them, right? Because those guys said they're going to shut down Nigeria for power, 4 trillion. They just paid it a few days ago. So doctors have gone on strike. ASU has gone on strike. So if they were paying, those guys would have gotten their money. That's the point I'm making. So even if you borrow money and you say, I'm going to borrow money, I'm going to go and pay people in a state, you are at least reflating that state. But where's the evidence? We are borrowing we are making 20 trillion and spending 34 trillion on what? That's the question. On what? Because we are still borrowing 12.
Yeah, but the government is not even transparent in their spending.
Okay,
you can't even be certain as to what they are doing. And when you are not able to know exactly what they're doing because there's a lack of transparency in their financial activities, how do we even assess them properly? All we just know is that they are not managing what they have properly, and they're putting Nigeria into more debt.
Agreed.
I mean, okay, everybody's talking, from January now they're going to increase their tax collection. But as you just highlighted, Nigerians don't have money. They come back, then, okay, these are the people that you want to tax. Is it not when an economy is productive and people are actually generating an income that you can actually tax them? When they are not generating anything, what exactly are you taxing?
True.
And I don't understand why they don't get that. For you to have a tax regime that works, the economy must be productive so that you have actually something to tax. So when from beginning of next year, I don't know what is going to happen because people will get really, really angry.
Yeah.
If their lifestyle is going to deteriorate further,
because
even their money is going to disappear.
I hear you, Osazu. Osazu, we've got to end this space pretty soon. We have nearly 4 hours. I think.
Wow, I didn't know you guys have been on for that long.
Yeah, I mean, I can't read DM. I mean, don't hate me. I see you on DM. Don't hate me. It's not my numbers. It's not my numbers. All these numbers are federal government numbers. I'm just analyzing them for you. You can abuse me from now till next year. It's federal government's numbers. There's nothing fake here. If you doubt it, go yourself to budget office. All the reports are there. Pull them down. Do your own figure. I'm not going to give you my figures. Go to budget office. It's online. Pull it down. Get your own figure. Sure, you can abuse, but it won't change these numbers, man. Yeah. Why are women not speaking?
I have some questions for you, sir.
Real quick, sir. Real quick. I want to get what's that?
Can you confirm to us here
if the federal government, this money they are making, that we're all here, if they are stealing it in one way or the other, please.
I'm not the police. I don't know if there's being stolen. I'm just telling you what the numbers are saying. I don't know if there's. I'm not the police guy. I'm not the court guy. I don't know. All I'm telling you is that they've made income of 20 trillion. They've spent 34 trillion. They have a deficit of 13 trillion, and they borrowed 12 trillion. That's all I can tell you with certainty. Everything I don't know.
Okay, please. Another question, please. This total debt, is it the total debt of the federal government or the total debt of the country as a whole?
Total debt of the federal government, not debt, deficit. The total deficit and the borrowing. Yeah, of the federal. I'm only talking federal government alone. Only federal government.
Okay, not the states.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please, because we know we need to do something about the states that are also getting money from the federal government. Because if the states are not viable with all the monies they are getting, the common man on the street will still continue to feel the pain of what's happening in the country.
I think the states are worse. And I think most of the problem in Nigeria is because the states are not performing. Most of the issue we have today is that the states are not performing. I'm only focused on the federal government because it's just one entity. In Nigeria, if I want to talk about states, if I talk about Lagos, they will say I should go to Anambra. Unless I'm going to do Lagos, Anambra, Kebbi, pick 6 states and then run with states. But then people will say, okay, there are 36 states. So federal is easy for me to just pick on and run with it. If you want to do states, you have to pick all the states, otherwise you'll be accused of being tribal. That's why I just focus on the federal. Yeah. Makes sense? All right, let's go to is it Faramudi? Did I get that right? Frawamudi. Frawa going once, Frawa going twice. Mr. Ishaka M.O. Let's get Sopulu. Mr. Pulu. Mr. Pulu. Are you guys all going to bed? I think you're all going to bed.
Looks like it.
Yeah. All right, let's go. SOGTV. SOGTV. All right. Let's get Favor Vincent one name. Favor Vincent. Favor. How you doing?
Hello, good. I'm not really here to talk about politics. No.
We're not talking politics. We don't talk politics here at all. No politics here.
Solutions.
Go for it.
Okay. So in the past weeks, I've been posting and highlighting about facts in terms of building a family that can actually solve majority of our problems, at least 67% of our problems. And in these present tax reforms that is going to happen
by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Remember in the past, the Central Bank was taking their monies to lend to the government. That's the ways and means you are hearing about. So let's come out our eye from that money. It's not our money. We've got to raise what we call foreign direct investments. So money comes to buy land, or we do portfolio investments. Like look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia built that dam, the Grand Renaissance Dam, by raising bonds in Ethiopia from Ethiopians. I have friends in America that are Ethiopians. I thought it was Esusu they were doing. So what they do, like if you are, maybe you have town union meeting in Ethiopia, right? They will contribute money to buy that. I don't know, they call it a particular bond, and that money goes back to the Ethiopian government. They were contributing community by community back to Ethiopia, and they used that money from their diaspora to build that dam in Ethiopia. They didn't really borrow money. They borrowed money from Ethiopians to build the dam. Nigeria can do that also. That money available for spending. We did a diaspora bond before. I'm not sure I've not done one again. So P2P money, you can spend that one. Diaspora, you can spend that one. Bonds, you can spend that one, but not the reserves per se. Like if money is coming for investment, get it. That's why we have to make Nigeria. The government of Nigeria has got to work for all Nigerians. When you go on Twitter and you keep on saying go to Anambra or this nation or that nation, you are killing your biggest advantage. The biggest advantage Nigeria has in Africa is our diaspora. We get number one, we're number one in receipt of diaspora. And diaspora is dollar. It doesn't know tribe. Money comes, there is no Igbo dollar or Yoruba dollar or Hausa dollar. There's dollar. So if you run a country that basically says everybody is part of my government, diaspora money will flow. But when you run a government where the spokesman for your government says that a particular tribe is the problem of Nigeria, he named the tribe, and he's still a spokesman, Bayo, he's still a spokesman, then what are you essentially saying? So politics full.
Bayo, that can pronounce his name in full. Kalu, not only the first name, but pronounce.
Kalu, when you talked about the diaspora bond, what just came to my mind was, if Nigeria floated a diaspora bond, would you invest in it?
Yes, if you do it right. If you make it a revenue bond, meaning that you tie to a revenue source. Let me give you an example. All the Omoibo are saying they want seaport. Abi, fine. There is a channel to go from Imo State through Atlantic Ocean where you can have a small inland seaport inside river port that will go out from River State out to the Atlantic, like how you have in Duisburg. Okay, so the federal government will say, we're going to issue an Imo River bond. Only dollars accepted. If you buy into this bond, you own shares in that bond. All the traders that are in China, that are in Japan, that are in Germany, in Belgium, will buy into that bond. They will invest in that bond, and the bond will only go to that port. The bond will charge dollar because you pay to export in dollar, Abi. So they will give you back dividends in dollar. Why wouldn't I invest in something like that? That I know I'm going to invest in infrastructure and I'm going to get a dollar return. You can do many infrastructure bonds. You can go to Lagos and Lagos Coastal Road. We're going to toll it and we're going to charge Naira. Invest in Naira. So you bring your money from abroad, dollar to Naira, and invest in a bond that's going to pay you Naira. So every 30 December, they pay your toll gate fees to your account. You come to Nigeria, you take your toll gate fees, you do that to December. You know bad now. But you've got to structure it. It's not rocket science. I'll just give you an example. Ethiopia has built a dam with Ethiopian money. If you live abroad, ask your Ethiopian friend. They will tell you this is what they are doing. I wrote about it. They were taking money. If you go, you see them in any place I've been meeting, you see them contributing money. $10, $5 to package everything, they will buy that bond. Town by town, community by community, abroad, Ethiopia, they build the dam. Let me give you a story. In Ethiopia, they fought a civil war. There's something called Somaliland in Ethiopia that is populated by Somalis in Ethiopia. Those Somali people joined Somalia and invaded Ethiopia a long time ago. So Somalia joined those people in Somalia. They invaded Ethiopia and they nearly conquered Ethiopia. Before the Russians gave Ethiopian arms, Ethiopia then fought back and got back Somaliland in Ethiopia. So of course, they treated that area as an area that they did not invest in. So all through the years, Ethiopian government does not really put a lot of investment in the Somali territory in Ethiopia. It's like they just ignore it, underdeveloped. Those people, the Somali people in Ethiopia, contributed also to the dam in Ethiopia. Why? Because they knew that if they build that dam, they will get power and use that power to develop Somaliland. So they themselves contributed, it's on record, and gave the money to the people that fought civil war, that have no whatever. So money cures tribalism. If you bring a project that people will benefit from, everybody benefits from, and you show that this project is going to touch everybody positively, you buy acceptance from people. You have to run your government that is for everybody. You can't have a government where people think that you are only favoring one side of the country. You can't do that. Because when you do that, people just say, okay, now your government with that now, carry go. That's what's going to happen. Yar'Adua was president. He didn't stay that long, but the man ran as if he wasn't from this place or from that place. You've got to, so it all adds up. If you like, run government and say, oh, it's my turn. Okay, it's not our turn, it's my turn. People will say, okay, it's your turn. Run your 8 years and you go. You've got to do it properly, and Nigerians would invest. Nigeria, if not for diaspora, Naira will be like 10,000 Naira to $1. It's the diaspora folks that have kept Nigeria going. The remittances they send, formally and informally, has kept the Naira where it's at. Diaspora people. Nearly 25 billion is brought home. It's all social money. We've got to convert that money from social sources to an investment source. Once Nigeria can do that, bam, the country will blow up. Yeah? Fantastic. Ikechukwu, like the last guy speak. Ikechukwu, hey, go for it. I don't know if SOJ is still there, but I called SOC TV. Ikechukwu, please go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me, sir?
I can.
Okay, good evening, sir. A quick one. With all the data and the what you just put forth about the economy not spending money, the people selling, not being able to make profit and all that, that we are just surviving. In view of what is coming, this new tax, who pays?
People are going to pay. Companies will pay. There's still money being made. They're going to make a lot of money from taxes. People will pay. The problem is that more people will not pay because they can't afford it.
I see from all the look of things is that see people that do businesses with their personal accounts so as to bring it to the CIT as to make them pay. So with all these things that are happening, wouldn't there be by next year? Because even with what they are aware this tax issue, and we are starting by.
I'm not getting your question. What's the question? Just the background on what you're trying to ask.
Sorry, I just stepped out. My question is, in view of all what is coming, to pay next year, would there be a serious issue? Because at this trying to educate people on this, and what has not been done on this, and people still do not know that up until this time, and it is kicking off in 17 days' time. Would there be an issue, and who will pay this by next year?
Yeah, so
if
you ask me, right, if you ask me personally, the tax thing is very, very good. We have to modernize and update our tax laws. This new tax policy is progressive. They are not targeting you. They are targeting really, I think it's the oil companies they are going after. But they've done a lot of other small changes here and there. They've raised it to, I think for a company, it's 100 million or 50 million, whichever they decide. It's between 150. For individuals, you have to earn, from my calculation, about 14.5 million before your taxes go up. That's what I calculated, 14.5 million. It's still good. The problem is that many people we're going to a US style system where you have to file your taxes and get a benefit. Most people don't understand what this means. People are assuming it's going to be like in the past where your company will file for you. Because if you work in Nigeria today, your company files taxes for you because your company gets 20%, or you get 20% once your company, you get an automatic 20% tax break. Sometimes you just take your 20%, put it on your tax return, and just file on your behalf. Right now, they've changed the law to say you have to go out and buy the tax exemption. How do you buy it? You do pensions, you do National Housing Fund, you do National Health Insurance Scheme, you buy a property and you pay interest on it, or even you pay rent. You have to go out and you buy it. Many people do not understand what this means. The communication has been very, very poor. I think they made a mistake trying to use, quote unquote, their influencers to sell this tax policy. You cannot take somebody that has been attacking people online, calling them, quote unquote, obedient, calling them, quote unquote, Anambra, calling them, quote unquote, enemies of Nigeria. then you ask that same person to come and sell tax to me, what will I instantly think? Oh, if he doesn't like me and he's selling this thing to me, that means this thing is bad. They should have gone and gotten real people that people trust and obey, even if it's pastors or imams, and got them to sell this policy. There are many money people on Twitter. Olumide, the ladies here, Money Africa, they're all here on Twitter. They could have gone to them
Lastly,
and sold it. So I think the communication has been very, very poor. Very, very poor. And I think that next year, there's going to be a lot of shock. People are going to be so shocked when they say, oh, but they said if I earn 800K, I won't pay tax. You've got to file not to pay tax. If you earn 70K and you don't file your taxes, you're going to pay tax next year. That's what it means.
Okay, so lastly, what do you think? And this tax is, the filing is at the end of the year, right? Not per month. Or would they still add the guideline to that?
Some companies file quarterly, individuals file at the end of the year, yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, what do you think? Is it with this physical recklessness you just talked about, and we going into quote and unquote the modern tax system, what should come first? Are we not placing the cart before the horse?
What's the question?
Should it be accountability first before moving into this system, or this system before accountability? Because if you are pulling in all this money and there is this quote and unquote the physical recklessness that we still have, there will still be this issue. So which should be first?
I think that the perfect cannot be the enemy of the good, right? You cannot say because you don't have accountability, you can't. Talk for the government here now. The government is going to collect their tax, whether they are efficient or not efficient. They're going to collect their tax because efficiency is the perfect. We can't wait for the perfect before we collect taxes. What you should do is to then try to look at the tax laws, understand it, and see how you can legally avoid your taxes. Avoidance is legal, evasion is not illegal. So you as a citizen also have the right to say, well, I don't agree with what they are doing. I want to avoid taxes by buying pensions or by buying a house and paying interest. You can do that, but you can't evade. So they're never going to say, even America is not efficient. No economy is efficient, but they collect taxes. So maybe it's more here, but they're not going to wait till they are efficient before they collect taxes. Two can happen at the same time, as they say. All right, fantastic, guys. Thank you so much, guys. So we've been talking around the government figures, right? This space. The space was titled Waste the Money. And we've been close to four hours on this space. Let me get the exact time we've been here. Well, about 3 hours, 4 hours and 2 minutes, right? So fantastic for you guys have joined and kept faith just to learn about the country's numbers. I took my time. This is a lot of research. Trust me, I see it on PowerPoint right now. It takes a lot of time to get the numbers, calculate, confirm, and then post for you guys. Why am I doing it? I love Nigeria. And if Nigeria doesn't understand numbers, you can't critique a government if you don't know what to critique about. It's your government. You're not supposed to quote unquote love them 24/7. Loving them is critiquing them so they get better. What we're doing is telling the government, hey, you are spending too much. You are earning a lot. We love it. You are borrowing. That's fine if it's going to go to infrastructure, but you are spending too much. If you keep on spending and that spending is being funded by debt, you are going to create a debt trap down the road that nobody can pay. If oil prices fall, the Nigerian economy cannot survive if we have this level of debt. That's why I'm making this point. Ignore your politics. Focus on the numbers that I've given to you. They are real. They're from the federal government. The solution is pretty simple. You've got to cut down the spending, which means a long time ago, I did a Twitter post. I said the government has got to stop the budget. That was 2023. Stop the budget and redo it. Anything not tied to health, education, or critical infrastructure, even critical infrastructure, don't do it. There's no time for traveling abroad. There's no time for building guest houses or VP mansions. Stop all that and focus on health, education, and reflating the economy through construction and the rest. That's what we need to do. We cannot have an economy where we are spending 34 trillion, but we are earning 20 trillion. It can't work. It's not going to work because I'm going to have to go and borrow the rest of it. It's not going to work to build street lights and the rest. So that's the summary here. The government has got to slow down. And the government's already seen the red flags. The government itself is saying all 2026 budgets have got to go to 2020, 2025, but go to 2026. They themselves are acknowledging that they do not have the money to do capital projects in 2025. This is the government's own admission. So when you are a supporter, with that in mind, the government themselves are saying that they have no money in 2025 to complete capital budgets, which means we've got to slow down on the spending. The revenues are okay, the borrowing is okay, but we are spending way too much. When we spend, we borrow. When we borrow, debt trap, because Nigeria is funded by just one commodity, crude oil. If crude oil goes to $40, $50 a barrel, we are dead. We're dead. Thanks so much for hanging around here. I really do appreciate you guys. We're here every Sunday, 7 p.m. West African time. We're talking the money, the economy, and of course, finance. Next week is, when is next? Next week is 21st. Yeah, we'll still be here. Time for Christmas, and we'll have a new topic then with lots of data about your economy, about your money, and of course, about your personal finance. Do join. My name is Kalu Aja. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me so long this time, and I hope you guys will come next time. Thank you for all that have contributed. Thanks for all that have stayed behind to listen and to learn what we're doing. Really, I love you guys. Do follow on Twitter, on YouTube. So next time we'll try to give the visuals as well so you can follow the discussions. Going to be a great Monday. Go out and make some money. Keep it simple. Keep it safe. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, sir.